Chapter 603. The barren territory was vast and boundless. Inside the barren territory, there were some mysterious places that had been passed down for a long time. When the human race was still in its primitive age, these mysterious creatures were already high above the masses. They had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth and the ability to move mountains and fill oceans. In the eyes of the ancient human race, these creatures were like gods. Therefore, people called these places the Holy Mountain. The demonic spirit lake was such a holy mountain. This was a holy land. Looking from afar, the entire demonic spirit lake was shining. Every inch of land, every body of water, and even every blade of grass was emitting a faint fluorescent light. A majestic and enormous divine mountain stood tall, surrounded by auspicious clouds and rays of multicolored light. In front of the mountain, there was a vast lake. The vast lake was like an ocean. Blue waves rippled and sparkled. Spiritual fog lingered around the lake, and auspicious vapors rose. In the sky, groups of spiritual birds chirped and circled back and forth. In the lake, schools of spiritual fish swam happily. They stirred up the water and splashed it like pearls. On the shore of the lake, at the foot of the holy mountain, there was a group of ancient buildings. Huge palaces stood tall. They were grand and dignified, exquisite and gorgeous, like the palaces of gods or immortals. Grand palaces, dignified shrines, gorgeous palaces, and exquisite buildings were endless. From the lakeside to the foot of the holy mountain, it stretched all the way to the peak of the holy mountain. This is the demonic spirit lake. Standing on the back of Cheongchi, Xiaohao raised his head and looked at the holy land in front of him. He was a little shocked. The chi of heaven and earth is so abundant. Even the grass and trees are shining. What a great place. Little Stone stood on the back of the sky-swallowing sparrow and looked at the holy land in front of him. He was full of praise. Yes, this place is really good. Xiaohao also praised and nodded. So just kill all the spider demons. Don't destroy this place. Yes, sir. Several ferocious birds and beasts agreed. With a long howl, their wings covered the sky, and the wind and clouds surged. A huge shadow broke through the sky and covered the earth. Its ferocious aura was overwhelming. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out. The entire demonic spirit lake was shaken by this huge shockwave. What is that? One by one, silhouettes rushed out from various palaces. When they raised their heads to look at the three gigantic beasts in the sky, their faces turned pale with fright. Cheongchi, Azure Skyrock, Sky-Devouring Sparrow. Damn it, do they want to start a war with our demonic spirit lake? The demonic spirit lake had been passed down since ancient times. It was also a sacred mountain with a long history. Those who lived here were all pure-blooded true spirits of the heavenly spider clan. They had noble bloodlines and powerful strength. Even with the arrival of the three sovereigns, the spiders of the demonic spirit lake didn't lose their confidence. I wonder what brings the three venerables to the demonic spirit lake. Several rays of light shot out from the sacred mountain, revealing several figures. The person at the front asked the three pure-blooded true spirits without a change in expression. What's the matter? Of course, to flatten the demonic spirit lake. Little Stone stood on the back of the sky-devouring sparrow and pointed at the mountain gate of the demonic spirit lake. With a roar, he smashed down with a heavy punch. The mountain gate of the demonic spirit lake was majestic and magnificent. In the middle of the gate was a plaque with the words Demonic Spirit Lake engraved on it. These three ancient words were dazzling. As Little Stone punched out, a gigantic shadow of the dragon Prince Baxia appeared. A boundless power rushed out with a loud bang. Boom! The mighty divine power fiercely smashed into the plaque of the demonic spirit lake, causing an earth-shattering shockwave. Wong! The plaque of the gate exploded with a brilliant divine light. Tens of thousands of rays of multicolored light shot out. The clouds and mist churned, releasing a powerful force to resist Little Stone's shocking attack. This lousy plaque actually has some ability? Break for me. Little Stone roared angrily. His entire body was covered in a mighty divine light. The gigantic shadow of the dragon, Prince Basha, raised a front claw and fiercely pressed it down. Boom! The mountain gate collapsed, and the plaque shattered. Within this pile of rubble, wisps of divine flames actually rose up. They burned, trembled, and then disappeared into thin air. So there's a trace of divine power supporting it. No wonder I had to expend more energy. Little Stone clenched his fists and angrily stared at the spiders of the demonic spirit lake. How dare you? Damn it! The mountain gate had been destroyed. This caused the spiders of the demonic spirit lake to be unable to restrain their anger. Angry roars rang out like a raging tide. 3 sovereigns, you destroyed the mountain gate of the demonic spirit lake. Do you want to start a war? Although your strength is not ordinary, our demonic spirit lake is not to be trifled with. Our golden spider ancestor and black spider ancestor are both sovereigns. A man wearing a golden robe proudly faced the 3 pure-blooded true spirits. Our demonic spirit lake has been passed down for so long. How can we not have a foundation? Once a war starts, even sovereigns can fall. If you don't give us an explanation for today's matter, our demonic spirit lake will not let this matter rest. Haha, you're right. Even sovereigns can fall. Xiao Hao laughed loudly. So, your 2 sovereigns are finished. With a wave of his hand, 2 giant spider corpses were released by Xiao Hao. 2 giant spiders, one golden and one black, fell from the sky and crashed into the plaza in front of the demonic spirit lake's mountain gate. The huge impact caused the entire plaza to shake violently. Those are the 2 sovereigns. The sovereigns have fallen. Seeing the 2 spider corpses, the demonic spirit lake's spiders screamed in shock and trembled. The 2 sovereigns, who were like gods, were actually dead? Who are you? The figures that came out of the sacred mountain no longer had any arrogance. Everyone was so scared that their faces were pale and their bodies were trembling. Seniors, our demonic spirit lake, what grudges do we have with you? The golden robe man gathered his courage and asked. Grudges? Xiao Hao sneered. That's because you've offended someone you shouldn't have. Waving his hand at the 3 pure-blooded true spirits, Xiao Hao's face was cold. Flatten the demonic spirit lake and kill all the spiders. Yes. The 3 ferocious birds and ferocious beasts let out earth-shattering roars, their ferocity overflowing to the heavens. It's been a long time since I've eaten a spider. The sky-devouring sparrow opened its sharp beak. From its huge mouth, a jet-black light burst out and swept toward the demonic spirit lake like a sky full of dark clouds. Devour souls and take lives, exterminate all life. The sky-devouring sparrow's innate ability was extremely terrifying. Forget about eating spiders. Don't break anything else. Little Rock knocked on the sky-devouring sparrow's neck and quickly reminded it. Don't worry, young master. I can control the devour souls and take lives at will. I won't break anything else. The sky-devouring sparrow replied and drove the black light to destroy everything. You're too showy. Qiang-Chi saw the sky-devouring sparrow's innate ability and curled its lips. It seems that I have to show my true ability. I can't lose to the sky-devouring sparrow. Deity-killing roar. Soul-shuddering roar. Qiang-Chi raised its head and roared. Sound waves that shook the soul rippled out. Then, before it finished roaring, a layer of golden-scaled dragon fish floated on the surface of the lake. It's over. We're in trouble. It remembered that Xiao Hao said, don't break anything else. Cold sweat appeared on Qiang-Chi's forehead. It quickly slammed on the brakes and stopped its innate ability. It secretly looked at Xiao Hao's face and saw that he wasn't unhappy. Only then did it let out a sigh of relief. Carefully controlling the range of its innate ability, Qiang-Chi carried Xiao Hao and circled above the demonic spirit lake. It used the deity-killing roar to destroy everything. With the 2 powerful fighters working hard, even the Azure Sky rock couldn't do anything. After half an hour, the entire demonic spirit lake, including the spider eggs, had been swept clean. When the news of the demonic spirit lake being destroyed by Xiao Hao and Taihao spread, the whole world went silent. The demonic spirit lake, a sacred mountain with countless years of history, was destroyed just like that. It was too cruel and too terrifying. Compared to the destruction of the demonic spirit lake, the death of the man with polychoria was completely insignificant. Even the demonic spirit lake was destroyed. What was the man with polychoria? From then on, Xiaohao and Taihao were labeled as people who must not be provoked. Chapter 604. The destruction of the demonic spirit lake shocked the world. Xiaohao and Taihao, these two savage brats, already had an unparalleled reputation. No one dared to provoke them. Ha ha! Heaven Mending Pavilion has nothing to worry about. The Heaven Mending Pavilion master stroked his beard and laughed. The dark clouds that gathered in his heart dissipated. Even if the guardian spirit inevitably fell, as long as Taihao and Xiaohao gave the word, no one would dare to make a move against Heaven Mending Pavilion. After all, with the demonic spirit lake's example, no sacred ground dared to offend these two brats. The Martial Imperial Manor and the Rain Clan were both gloomy. They were both grieving for the death of the dual-pupiled person and frightened by the destruction of the demonic spirit lake. Both of them had a deep relationship with the demonic spirit lake and were almost the representatives of the demonic spirit lake in Stone Country. Before, they relied on the demonic spirit lake's power to get whatever they wanted in Stone Country. They even disobeyed the Emperor's orders. Now, the demonic spirit lake was destroyed. Their backing was gone. With the Emperor's wisdom, he would definitely make a move against the two clans. From now on, the fate of the two clans would be hard to predict. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with the two brats. Grandpa Chief, we've conquered a territory. The conditions there are too good. Let's move. Let's move Stone Village to the demonic spirit lake. After returning to Stone Village, Little Shirtu surrounded the old village chief and kept on suggesting that they move. This is our ancestral land, after all. The old chief sighed and remained silent for a long time. The demonic spirit lake is indeed good. Green light circulated and Willow Deity's figure appeared. If you don't want to leave the village, there's a way. Willow Deity smiled and waved his hand. The entire village was enveloped in green light. I'll move the entire village to the demonic spirit lake. Thank you, Willow Deity. Thank you, Willow Deity. The old chief was overjoyed and hurriedly thanked Willow Deity. Then let's go. Green light circulated in the sky, and the earth shook with a rumble. Endless light interweaved, and divine patterns appeared. The entire stone village rushed up into the sky like a stream of light. Whistling. Rumble. A moment later, there was another rumbling sound. The entire stone village was slightly shaken. After that, everything calmed down. The multicolored light receded, and the light screen dissipated. A vast pure land appeared in front of everyone. Wow, the ground is glowing, and so are the grasses and trees. So many palaces. Is this an immortal palace? Good fellow. The lake is filled with dragon-whiskered fish. Look, there are birds flying in the sky. Are those swan birds? Over there. Over there. Oh my God, llama. A large group of dragon horses. After the light screen dissipated, everyone in Stone Village discovered that they had arrived at a vast and mystical pure land. All kinds of miraculous scenes were too much for the eyes to take in. Stone Village was located between the Divine Mountain and the lake. It was at the location of the demonic spirit lake's mountain gate that Little Stone had shattered. Kids, you've built up such a big family business. In front of him was a calm lake, while behind him was a tall mountain. The entire area of the demonic spirit lake was a mystical pure land. The old patriarch took a deep breath. The abundant spiritual chi of heaven and earth entered his body as he breathed, making him feel refreshed. This is the new Stone Village. Our Stone Village. Little Stone stretched out his hand and pointed in all directions, as if he was pointing at the world. Thus, the demonic spirit lake became Stone Village. Grandpa Patriarch, this place is enough for our Stone Village to thrive. A divine mountain with a radius of 10,000 miles was enough for Stone Village to thrive for countless years. Good, good. The old patriarch stroked his beard, his face full of joy. After conquering the demonic spirit lake, we've gained a lot. On the other side, Xiaohao led Shilinghu and the others up the divine mountain palace. Although these palaces aren't very useful, we will need to build more houses in the future. Xiaohao turned around and pointed at the top of the divine mountain. There's a medicinal field over there. There are many spiritual herbs. Didn't the old patriarch have a few ancient recipes? Pick some spiritual herbs and use them to strengthen everyone's bodies. It's very suitable. Continuing forward, Xiaohao led everyone to the entrance of an ancient hall. Pushing open the door, countless rays of light shone. There are many divine gold and precious materials stored here. The most abundant is spider silk. I plan to make clothes for everyone with the spider silk of pure-blooded true spirits. Even the human emperor can't afford to wear these clothes. Haha, our stone village is really rich. Everyone laughed loudly. Apart from these, the biggest gain is the true spirit treasure technique. Xiaohao continued to introduce. We've obtained a total of 3 true spirit treasure techniques. 1 is the golden crow treasure technique. 1 is the Qilin treasure technique. And the last is the sky spider treasure technique. I've placed these treasure techniques in the Tao Enlightenment Hall. If you want to learn them, you can go and get them yourselves. With these 3 treasure techniques, our stone village already has 9 true spirit treasure techniques. Heavens, which sacred ground, has as many treasured techniques as us. After struggling in the void god realm for a period of time, Stone Village's knowledge had increased greatly, and they also understood the preciousness of true spirit treasure techniques. We caught a lot of fish. A lot of dragon-whiskered fish. At this time, Shi Dezhuang led a group of children, holding large fish baskets and shouting excitedly. Ha ha ha! What are fish? Boys, look at Uncle's mouth. Shi Shoshan rode a snow-white dragon horse and galloped over. The snow-white dragon horse was like a white cloud flying over. Bastard, why didn't you call me when you wanted to catch him out? Shilinghu angrily roared and rushed down from the sacred mountain. He madly ran towards the wilderness outside the mountain. Xiaohao, take out those 2 old spiders. Tonight, we'll eat roasted spider legs. Xiaohao had just descended the mountain when he saw Little Stone waving his hand and shouting, "Roasted spider legs. Fine, you're a glutton." He waved his hand and released the 2 large spiders. The 2 large spiders that were as large as small hills made the people of Stone Village click their tongues in amazement. Good heavens, just 1 leg is enough for us to eat for several days. Seeing the giant spider legs that were like pillars supporting the sky, the old chief exclaimed for a long time, "This is a pure-blooded, true spirit. Moreover, it's a true spirit of the supreme realm. After eating the spider legs, our cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds." Little Stone's mouth was dripping with saliva. Thus, the wings of the winged Ingzhao fiercely chopped off a giant golden spider leg. The women of Stone Village pushed out the roasting rack with great familiarity. Roasted spider legs. Little Stone grabbed the fire crow's precious bone and released a monstrous flame to roast the spider leg. After all, it was a true spirit of the supreme realm. If he didn't use this kind of fire, he wouldn't be able to roast the spider leg. As the flames continued to roast the spider leg, an incomparable fragrance wafted out. Just the smell alone was enough to make one feel comfortable and invigorated. Eat it, eat it. Using the wings of the winged Ingzhao to cut open the shell, the translucent leg meat that was like mutton fat white jade appeared in front of everyone. The fragrance assailed their nostrils and was boundlessly delicious. As the spider leg meat was swallowed one by one, a vast and boundless energy entered their bodies. The people of Stone Village. Some of them were glowing and emitting flames. Boom, boom. After each of them swallowed a spider leg, a vast and mighty divine light rushed out from the top of Little Stone and Xiaohao's heads, rushing into the sky like a volcanic eruption. A brilliant and enormous hole appeared above the 2 of them. The world rumbled, and the divine light was vast and mighty. Around the two of them, holes appeared one after another. After 9 heavenly passages, the two of them opened the 10th. Heavens! 10 heavenly passages. The people of Stone Village cried out in alarm and were dumbfounded. The old chief's hand trembled, and even his beard was pulled out. Young master's talent is indeed exceptional. Cheong-chi and the heaven-swallowing sparrow's eyes were wide open, and they were amazed. Chapter 605. The Double Eye and the Bone of Supremacy. After Little Stone asked Xiaohao to put away the double eye and the bone of supremacy, these two peerless talents fell into Li Yu's hands. According to the true primordial record, both the double eye and the bone of supremacy are innate talents, just like the innate talents of pure-blooded true spirits. After the system analyzed the double eye and the bone of supremacy, Li Yu also analyzed them and found that the conclusion was exactly the same. In fact, the double eye and the bone of supremacy can also be considered as innate talents. In this world, pure-blooded true spirits were born with all kinds of innate talents. These innate talents were called true spirit treasure techniques. In essence, these innate talents were born from the heaven and earth and were the result of the laws of heaven and earth. The laws of heaven were fair. Other races could obtain innate talents born from the heaven and earth. Of course, the human race also had this opportunity. However, the majority of the human race did not have the foundation to give birth to this innate talent. The possessor of the bone of supremacy is also called the first generation. This description is very appropriate. If the bone of supremacy or the double eye can be passed down generation after generation, perhaps another race will be born. His thoughts diverged, and he thought further. The so-called celestial race and other races might be a new race that evolved from the bloodline of a certain first generation. This thing is indeed a peerless talent. It is indeed an extremely tyrannical bloodline ability. However, in the end, these things are all restraints. The double eye and the bone of supremacy were born from the laws of heaven and earth. They represented the laws of heaven and earth. However, in the end, as long as one broke free from the shackles of heaven and earth, one could reach the peak of heaven and earth. At that point, the double eye and the bone of supremacy were indeed restraints. Of course, for me, Li Yu chuckled and waved his hand. Countless runes flashed in his eyes and burst out with resplendent divine light. For me, these are the ways to use the laws of heaven and earth. Regardless of whether it was the double eye or the bone of supremacy, Li Yu could use the innate talents of the two at any time after analyzing their composition. This was no longer an innate talent of the bloodline. It had evolved into a type of spell. The Heavenly Eye technique and the Light of Calamity are both very useful spells. Let Xiaohao and the others practice it for fun. Let's see if this path of using runes to analyze the laws of heaven and earth is really feasible. With a casual wave of his hand, the two spells that he had deduced based on the duo-eyed eyes and the bones of supremacy were sent to Xiaohao's Supreme Palace library as a kind of treasured rune technique. I'll gain a lot during this time. The information and the memories of the dark immortal kings and immortal generals in the faux god world, the various heavenly techniques, precious techniques, and cultivation comprehensions were very useful to Li Yu. Using the rune path of the true primordial record, he reanalyzed all the information. Then, he incorporated these insights into his own origin of matter and origin of order. During this period of time, Li Yu's cultivation foundation had been constantly consolidated and accumulated. Even though there are immortal emperors in this world, it's unimaginably difficult to become one here. Looking at the past and future, there were only two immortal emperors in this world. One was the source of darkness that had been corrupted by the blood of darkness. The other was the future immortal Emperor Huang. In this vast and boundless world with billions of realms and countless living beings, there were only two people who had achieved Tao. The possibility of achieving Tao was equivalent to 0. If I want to achieve a breakthrough in this world, the path I have to walk is very long. The great Tao was unparalleled and unique. Even if someone achieved Tao and advanced to the immortal emperor realm. However, everyone's path was different, and there was no possibility of copying. An immortal emperor's path to Tao was a smooth path to the great Tao for himself. However, the same path was a dead end for others. The Tao can be said, but it is not the Tao. Of course, I can only walk my own path, gathering the laws of heaven and earth of all the realms and finally achieving primeval, tracing back to the origin of heaven and earth. This was Li Yu's path. This path would definitely be very difficult. Becoming an immortal emperor in this world can be considered as a prelude to achieving primeval. Compared to achieving primeval, becoming the origin of all the realms and space-time. This path was even more difficult than becoming an immortal emperor in this world. Heavenly techniques, all kinds of secret techniques, all kinds of strange treasures and divine items are the embodiment of the laws of this world. These things are very important to my path to Tao. So, Xiaohao, you little brat, go plunder them. What Li Yu needed was not these physical objects, but the laws that they contained. Therefore, the physical objects were for Xiaohao and the others to use, while the laws were for Li Yu to comprehend. It was a perfect balance. Demonic Spirit Lake. The new stone village had been officially established. After obtaining the Demonic Spirit Lake's countless years of accumulation, Stone Village became rich overnight. These are clothes made of heavenly spider silk. It's really miraculous. In the tool refining pavilion, Shi Dezhuang grabbed a white robe and gestured in front of him for a while. Looking at the ancient style and exquisite decorations, he simply could not put it down. It was just that Shi Dezhuang, who was tall and burly, was wearing a scholar's robe on his body. A burly man dressed as a weak scholar. This scene was simply unbearable to look at. TSK, Brother Dezhuang, these clothes are not suitable for you. You should continue wearing armor. That suits you better. The stone monkey mocked Shi Dezhuang. Then it also took a scholarly robe and put it on. You're still talking about me? You're not much better than me. Shi Dezhuang pointed at the stone monkey and laughed. The stone monkey had a crafty appearance. Wearing this set of clothes, it was simply like a monkey wearing a hat. It did not look like a human at all. I said, there are many styles of clothes. There are also many clothes over there. Go and wear them. Xiaohao looked at these two mischievous fellows and helplessly shook his head. Go and look over there. Don't disturb me. I'm busy. After obtaining the Demonic Spirit Lake's countless years of accumulation, Xiaohao was indeed very busy. He was busy upgrading the equipment of Stone Village's people. Xiaohao used the Demonic Spirit Lake's accumulated spider silk to refine a large pile of different kinds of clothes. Then, he and Little Stone each wore a black robe. Both of them were extraordinarily handsome. Coupled with these robes, they had an even more elegant and graceful aura. Their little friends were incomparably envious. Then, they all ran over, wanting to wear these robes. In the end, there were some clothes that could not be worn by just anyone. Two venerable realm, pure-blooded, true spirits. The golden and black spider shells, in addition to their true spirit treasure bones, are all precious treasures. The two spider shells were refined into sets of heavy armor by Xiaohao. Taken from the shells of pure-blooded true spirits, their defensive power was extremely strong. Everyone in Stone Village was wearing a set of heavy armor. They wore a spider silk robe on the inside and a set of heavy armor on the outside. Their equipment was so luxurious that they simply had no friends. The two true spirit treasured bones were refined into two talismans by Xiaohao. As long as it was activated, it could release an inescapable net that covered the sky and covered the earth. Then it was stolen by the stone monkey. It ran to the lake at the foot of the mountain and was used to fish. The old chief picked up his cane and chased the stone monkey in a circle. When Xiaohao had more or less cleaned up his harvest, more than 2 months had already passed. The 100-shattering mountain secret realm was about to open. Chapter 606. The desolate land had a long history. Since ancient times, this world had produced countless powerful cultivators. Although these powerful cultivators had long been annihilated in the passage of time, the sects they established, and the caves they built were still hidden in this world. This was the origin of the secret realm. In the 100 Shattering Mountain Range, there was such a secret realm. It was rumored that countless years ago, in the 100 Shattering Mountain Range, there was an incomparably tyrannical and vast ancient country. The 100 Shattering Mountain Range's secret realm was left behind by this ancient country. Today, this unknown ancient country had long been annihilated in the dust of history. However, the 100 Shattering Mountain Range's secret realm still opened once every 500 years. Boom! In the depths of the 100 Shattering Mountain Range, at the far end of the earth, an enormous sound exploded. Brilliant multicolored light illuminated the heaven and earth, and the hazy and faintly discernible cloud light was as brilliant as a rainbow. It was as if a door was slowly opening, and the ancient secret realm that had been sealed in the passage of time was awakening from its slumber. The 100 Shattering Mountain Range's secret realm is about to open. When this news spread out, everyone who was paying attention to the 100 Shattering Mountain Range's secret realm could no longer sit still. One by one, they hurried towards the 100 Shattering Mountain Range. Broken Sky City. This city that was located at the edge of the 100 Shattering Mountain Range had gathered countless cultivators from the various clans of the wasteland in a few short days. People came and went, and it was extraordinarily lively. With more people, there would naturally be more conflicts. More importantly, these people came from different clans, different countries, and different powers. They had long since been locked in a fierce battle in the Void God realm. At this moment, after meeting in Broken Sky City, unless their strength was similar and they both had misgivings, it would be hard to not have conflicts. Toba clan's trash. Don't run. Today, I'll settle old debts with you. Sky Descent clan's coward. If you have the guts, come at me. Do you think I'm scared of you? On a bluestone road in the city, a quarrel and cursing sound could be heard. These were two clans that had long been in conflict. At this moment, the clan's disciples met on a narrow path and naturally opposed each other with equal harshness. Rumble. Rays of light from symbols flickered, and waves of rumbling sounds could be heard as the precious techniques clashed. While the two sides were fighting, an ancient beast carriage slowly drove over. Lowly humans, you dare to block my master's path? All of you deserve to die. The giant jackal-like beast that was pulling the rope let out a furious roar and opened its bloody mouth, which was filled with sharp fangs. It transformed into a boundless vortex and swallowed the two humans who were fighting in one gulp. Crack! The huge mouth closed and blood splattered everywhere. Two families, dozens of people, were swallowed by the ferocious beast pulling the carriage. Even the ferocious beast pulling the carriage was so tyrannical. How terrifying was the owner who hadn't shown himself? How dare you? The words despicable humans infuriated everyone who heard it. A young man in a silver robe slammed the table and stood up. He pointed at the beast carriage and roared. The ferocious beast pulling the carriage suddenly turned its head. Its pair of blood-red eyes revealed endless ruthlessness. Kid, you're dead. No matter where you come from, no one can protect you now that you have offended the divine mountain of West Hill. The divine mountain of Shieling. As soon as this name came out, everyone in the surroundings kept quiet out of fear. This was a terrifying divine mountain that overflowed into the heavens. It was tyrannical and ferocious. They simply could not afford to offend it. This kid doesn't know any better. Please forgive him. A middle-aged man quickly stood up and pulled the silver-robed young man behind him. He explained to the ferocious beast pulling the carriage. After all, a place like the divine mountain of West Hill should not be provoked. It's too late. The ferocious beast pulling the carriage opened its huge mouth. A huge swallowing force was about to be born. You really want to make a move? The middle-aged man's entire body emitted brilliant runes. He coldly stared at the ferocious beast. Our Bution Pavilion does not want to cause trouble, but we are not afraid of it. If you want to fight, then bring it on. Bution Pavilion? The ferocious beast's entire body shook. The power that was about to explode suddenly stopped. Yes, He did not want to provoke Bution Pavilion. This was not because Bution Pavilion was so mighty that even the divine mountain of West Hill did not dare to provoke them. But, according to the legends, Bution Pavilion had some relationship with those two untouchable, ferocious children. Even the demonic spirit Lake was exterminated. The divine mountain of West Hill did not want to provoke such a terrifying person just because of a quarrel. Bution Pavilion, so what? Aren't you just borrowing other people's power? The ferocious beast muttered in a low voice. He pulled the carriage and turned around to leave. Hee hee. The middle-aged man from Bution Pavilion laughed and shook his head. Xiaohao and Taihao are originally my Bution Pavilion's disciples. How can they borrow other people's power? This is my Bution Pavilion's power. Well, in reality, everyone knew what the truth was. This is just your Bution Pavilion's good fortune to have a relationship with those two ferocious children. However, everyone in the surroundings could only smile and flatter him. They did not dare to say anything. Boom! A huge explosion sounded in the air. A brilliant radiance rushed into the sky. A door with a vast and mighty divine splendor was slowly opening. The secret realm is about to appear. The passage is about to open. At this moment, everyone in Broken Sky City opened their eyes wide. They watched with excited expressions. On the horizon, a hole was faintly discernible. Amidst the light, one could vaguely see a vast and mysterious world gradually materializing. Boom! The brilliant divine light rushed up like a volcanic eruption. The divine light was like a wave, surging up and down violently. It shook the entire world until it was rumbling. It was as if heaven and earth were being split apart. It was extremely shocking. The divine light surged and rumbled unceasingly. It was like a huge wave that overflowed into the sky. It was also like 10,000 horses galloping. The heaven and earth rumbled and the earth trembled. It was incomparably terrifying. Boom! With a final loud sound, the door finally opened. In the hole filled with divine light, there was only a layer of light that looked like ripples on water. On the other side of the light, the mysterious world of the secret realm had already appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The secret realm has opened. Now is the time to enter the secret realm. With a loud roar, a 10-zhang-tall giant leaped into the air and rushed into the light. Then, a green flood dragon leaped into the air. The golden pung spread its wings and soared into the sky. The rainbow demonic butterfly flapped its wings and streaked across the sky. At this moment, in the entire Broken Sky City, all kinds of creatures moved out one after another. They all rushed towards the light. The geniuses of the human race naturally did not want to fall behind. One after another, the radiance of symbols flickered. Some used their precious techniques, and some used their precious artifacts. Each and every one of them broke through the sky, not daring to fall behind. This is an opportunity and also a cruel test. In Broken Sky City, an old man stood in the air and shouted towards the front. It was as if he was reminding his clan's disciples. The 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm is a world of its own. The rules are that those who enter the secret realm cannot exceed the heavenly passage realm. Therefore, everything in the secret realm can only depend on you to fight for it. Whether you live or die, succeed or fail, it's all in your own hands. Streaks of light swept across the sky like shooting stars. They whistled and rushed into the huge door that appeared in the sky. A fierce battle between dragons and tigers, a bloody battle, was about to unfold. Could it be that Taihao and Xiaohao didn't come? At this time, a few people who were paying attention to the two savage children suddenly realized that they did not seem to notice that the two had entered the 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm. Chirp! Roar! In the distance, two long cries shook the heavens and the earth. The heaven-swallowing sparrow and Qiongqi's enormous voices whistled through the air. The vast and boundless aura caused people's souls to tremble, and they were endlessly frightened. On the backs of the two pure-blooded true spirits, two children wearing black robes stood upright with their hands behind their backs. Their auras shocked the heavens. Chapter 607. They really came. Seeing the two pure-blooded true spirits and the two young figures, everyone was shocked to the core. Although the destruction of the demonic spirit lake had already spread throughout the world, everyone still found it hard to believe when they saw the two figures and the two venerable mixed-blood true spirits, especially those archaic descendants. Normally, they were proud of their bloodlines and held their heads high in front of the human race. But now, even venerable, pure-blooded, true spirits were just the mounts of two human children. This made these archaic descendants feel as if their faith had collapsed. If even pure-blooded true spirits were just mounts, then what were they, the mixed-blood descendants of pure-blooded true spirits, supposed to be? It said that there are many good things in the 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm. Xiaohao, let's go in quickly. A pair of golden wings unfurled on his back, and Little Stone's figure rushed out, flying up from the back of the heaven-devouring sparrow. You guys wait outside, we're going in. Xiaohao instructed the two mounts, and with a flap of his wings, he caught up to Little Stone and rushed into the 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm together. The secret realm is indeed extraordinary. After passing through the light barrier, the two arrived in a vast and boundless world. Dense heaven and earth yuan qi filled the entire world, and it wasn't inferior to the demonic spirit mountain. Boom! A huge explosion sounded in front of them. Precious techniques whistled through the air, and the two groups of people fought fiercely. Despicable humans, this will be your burial ground. A huge giant bear covered in pitch-black fur, with a single horn on its head and a pair of wings on its back, waved its paw and fiercely slapped down at the human youths in front of it. A huge force shook the earth, and with a sweep of its paw, rocks flew everywhere. This is an archaic descendant. You can't fight it, Run. The human youths cried out in alarm as they fled in a sorry state. Despicable humans? These words make me very uncomfortable. Little Stone angrily snorted, and with a flap of his wings, he flew into the air. His entire body was like a bolt of golden lightning, and in a flash he arrived in front of the black bear. Black Bear, who told you to have such a cheap mouth? With a roar, Little Stone waved his paw and slapped out. Divine radiance filled the sky, and Earth God power violently erupted. Boom! With a loud bang, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Pum! With a loud explosion, the huge body of the black bear exploded into a bloody mist. His entire body had been blasted apart. It's a pity that I used too much strength. If it explodes by accident, we won't be able to eat the bear paws. Little Shirtu shook his head regretfully and disappeared in a flash. That was Tai Hao. Tai Hao saved us, as expected of Tai Hao. It's too terrifying, too savage. The few youths who had survived the calamity were surprised, happy, and shocked at the same time. He defeated an ancient remnant in one move and even said, "It's a pity that I didn't get to eat the bear's paw." This style was indeed worthy of being called Tai Hao. Pavilion Master Bution asked us to help him get some water from the divine spring. Since we've agreed, we can't go back on our word. Let's go. Xiaohao waved at Little Shirtu and flew forward. There seems to be an acquaintance over there. As he flew through the air, Little Stone suddenly saw a chariot in front of him that was covered in a scarlet light. It left behind a trail of flames as it rumbled through the air. Is that the daughter of the Fire Nation's human emperor? Seeing this chariot, Xiaohao remembered that he had seen this chariot when he went to Bution Pavilion. At that time, Qiongqi had swallowed a 5-colored peacock. Tai Hao, Xiaohao. In the chariot filled with scarlet light, a young girl cried out in surprise and stopped the chariot. The curtain of the chariot opened, revealing a young girl. Her skin was like cream, her fingers were like spring onions, and her eyebrows were like the distant spring mountains. Her eyes were like the profound pearls of the eastern sea. Her charm was peerless, like a celestial being. Hualing, greets the two senior brothers. The young girl smiled and looked at the two of them. She bowed and greeted the two. So it's Junior's sister, Hualing. Little Shirtu smiled and glanced at Hualing. He sighed, "Junior sister, you should lose weight." Hualing. Er's body shook, and she was dumbfounded. "My figure is slim and graceful, without a trace of fat." Tai Hao, why did he say I'm fat? Could it be that I'm really fat? Puffed. Xiao Hao already burst out laughing. After interacting with little Shirtu for so long, how could Xiao Hao not know what little Shirtu was thinking? In little Shidu's eyes, Hualing, Er's towering twin peaks, and perky buttocks were all fat. Ahem. Xiao Hao naturally did not want to continue this awkward topic. He coughed dryly and asked Hualing, "Her junior sister, you're in such a hurry. May I know what's the matter?" "All right, senior Marshall brothers. I've heard that I want to explore a secret place. It's said that this place is not ordinary and is a great opportunity. Senior brothers, are you interested in going with me?" Hualing, I wanted to invite the two of them to go with her. With their strength and a little bit of relationship, it was suitable for them to explore the secret place together. "Since we have nothing to do, let's go with junior sister." Xiao Hao and little Shirtu looked at each other and were somewhat tempted. Thus, the three of them set off together and rushed to the secret place that Hualinger mentioned. Not long after, they arrived near the secret place. It was a huge stone mountain. On a boundless grassland, a stone mountain lay before them. It was lofty, enormous, and majestic, and possessed a majestic aura. Halfway up the stone mountain, there was a huge black hole. Looking from afar, the deep black hole was bottomless and gave off an indescribable aura. At this moment, a group of creatures had already gathered at the foot of the stone mountain. These creatures all had vast auras and were extremely ferocious. There was a 9-headed lion that was completely golden, a silver-haired giant that was 30 feet tall, and a humanoid creature with a golden horn on its head and a pair of wings on its back. "Fire Nation Princess, you're late." The silver-haired giant spoke. Its voice was like a large bell, rumbling and shaking the mountain walls. You brought people here?" The golden 9-headed lion turned its head and looked at Xiao Hao and Tai Hao beside Hualing. Its expression was very displeased. Its 9 heads spoke at the same time, and its voice was like rolling thunder. Its golden body seemed to be cast from gold and emitted a dazzling golden light. Its aura was aggressive, and it was like a huge mountain pressing down. "Fire Nation Princess, you dare to act on your own? What kind of status do you have? Not just anyone can associate with us." The humanoid creature with wings on its back snorted disdainfully. "If you want to participate, let's see if you have the qualifications." You don't know them?" Hualing was stunned and suddenly felt like watching a show. She smiled and said to these ancient species, "They are also human prodigies, and their origins are also very extraordinary." Human prodigies? The human race also has prodigies? The golden 9-headed lion laughed loudly. It raised a paw and pointed at Xiao Hao and Tai Hao. "You're also considered prodigies? Come, if you could take one of my attacks and not die, then you're qualified to be my servant." A few evil beasts with impure bloodlines. You're not even qualified to be my mount, and you still dare to talk nonsense? Little Stone took a step forward, and a huge Qilin phantom appeared above his head. Qilin's step, the true spirit treasure technique that he seized from the demonic spirit lake, exploded with boundless divine power on Little Stone's body. Boom! A shocking explosion sounded. The earth shook, and the mountains shook. Violent shock waves surged up like a raging tide. PFFF, struck by this enormous force, the ancient descendants spat out blood and were sent flying hundreds of meters away, even if they did their best to resist. Damn it! Who are you? Such heaven-shocking might cause these primordial species to be endlessly shocked. You don't know them? Are they Tai Hao and Xiao Hao? You don't know them? Hualing Er's evil plan succeeded, and she stood on the side with a smile, gloating. It's them. Cold sweat broke out all over their bodies. The ancient species' faces turned pale, and they couldn't speak for a long time. Chapter 608. It's actually Tai Hao and Xiao Hao. Facing these two brats that they couldn't afford to provoke, the group of archaic descendants had completely lost their temper. They could only obediently lower their heads and admit defeat. Even the demonic spirit lake had been annihilated, the sacred mountain where the purebloods resided. Even archaic descendants like them could only look up to it. Then because they provoked these two brats, the demonic spirit lake was gone just like that. Everyone, this secret place is the place where a god fell. Even though the god fell, there are still god bones and god crystals left behind. This is a great opportunity. Hualing pointed at the black hole in front of them and said to everyone, "Since everyone is here, let's go. Let's explore the divine cave." Everyone leaped into the air and rushed into the divine cavern's secret land. In front of them was a deep and boundless darkness. A long tunnel led to the depths of the ground. It was unfathomable. They flew along the tunnel. Not long after, a splendid pure land appeared in front of everyone. The ground was verdant, and the plants were green. Every inch of the ground and every plant emitted a faint radiance. A sacred aura spread out. It was serene and calm, like a holy kingdom. Look, there are so many spirit herbs. The golden nine-headed lion raised its nose and shouted at the same time. "How is this a forest? It's all spirit herbs. The spirit herbs have grown so big. This is too terrifying." The silver-haired giant opened his eyes wide in disbelief. When the god fell, his spirit energy scattered to the ground. It nourished the life force of this place and gave birth to such a miraculous scene. Xiaohao looked at the lush spirit herb forest in front of them and smiled. Unfortunately, these spirit herbs are just ordinary things. Their quality is still a bit lacking. Even if they were nourished by the god's power, they would only grow a bit taller. Young Master Xiaohao is indeed knowledgeable. Hualing praised and then continued. "Everyone, our goal is the god bones and god crystals left behind by the god. If anyone is interested in these spirit herbs, it won't be too late to pick them later." "That's right. Let's go." Everyone here had extraordinary backgrounds. These spirit herbs were naturally very precious to ordinary cultivators. However, to the people here, they would only grow a bit taller. After entering the Pure Land, the group continued to advance. Soon, an ancient altar appeared in front of them. This was a hill in the Pure Land. On top of the hill stood a white altar that was sparkling and translucent like jade. Rays of divine light blossomed from the altar, and a sacred aura rippled like a vast ocean. There must be a divine item on the altar. The eyes of the group of archaic descendants lit up, and they were eager to give it a try. They wanted nothing more than to rush over and snatch the divine object from the altar. However, Xiaohao and Taihao were present. Whether it was in terms of background or cultivation, they were superior to everyone else. Even though these primordial species were already impatient in their hearts, they didn't dare to act rashly. Let's see what's here first. We'll talk about the distribution later. Hualinger looked at the hesitant appearance of these archaic descendants and immediately understood what they were worried about. "Yes, let's go take a look." Hualinger's suggestion was unanimously approved by everyone. He stepped onto the hill and onto the altar. The divine object on the altar appeared in front of everyone. An egg. In the brilliant divine light, a gray stone egg floated up and down in the divine light, as if it was floating on water. There are no divine bones or divine crystals. After searching around the altar, other than this egg, there was nothing else. Although this egg's origin was definitely extraordinary, it was also a huge harvest. However, there was only one egg, so it wasn't easy to distribute it. Maybe this egg is the child of a divine spirit. Let's put away first. Hualinger took out a bee skin bag and waved her hand. The bag expanded with the wind, and rays of rune light flowed. The bag opened and produced a huge suction force that sucked towards the stone egg on the altar. Under this suction force, the stone egg on the altar shook and slowly flew up from the altar. Chinquin bag. The princess even has such a treasure. The Fire Nation's foundation is indeed deep. Seeing the Fire Nation princess take out the Chinquin bag, the group of archaic descendants praised. Buzz, the stone egg flew up from the divine light. Just as it left the altar and was about to fly into the Chinquin bag. Junior sister, be careful. At this time, little Shirtu suddenly cried out in alarm. Boom! The moment the stone egg left the divine light, the entire altar suddenly produced a loud sound, and a violent tremor was produced. At the same time, endless divine light flowed and outlined rays of sacred and brilliant runes on the altar. A huge divine aura surged. The stone egg stopped moving. Even though Huolinger kept urging the Chinquin bag, the stone egg seemed to have taken root and didn't move at all. We're trapped. When the runes on the altar lit up, a light screen appeared and trapped everyone in the altar's light screen. Oh, a wolf's howl soared into the sky. On the altar, the image of a huge golden wolf appeared in the light. A sacred and majestic aura, but also a bit of bloody and ruthless aura, rushed up like a raging tide. Oh, the golden wolf's image roared and opened its huge mouth full of fangs. It bit down on an archaic descendant on the altar. The golden wolf's image flashed, as if it was an illusion and not a real existence. However, this archaic descendant was a golden-horned white goat. When the golden wolf's image flashed past its body, the golden-horned white goat let out a mournful cry, and its entire body exploded with streaks of bloody light. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. In the blink of an eye, the golden-horned white goat's flesh and blood disappeared, leaving behind only a pile of bones. It was as if it had been eaten by the golden wolf. Damn it! What the hell is this? The golden-horned white goat's miserable state shocked the other archaic descendant species. Hurry up and break the light screen. The archaic descendant species all attacked the light screen. Boom! Boom! Rays of precious techniques hit the light screen. But like rivers flowing into the sea, they disappeared without a trace and didn't have any effect. Don't attack. This symbol array is absorbing your precious techniques. Seeing this, Xiaohao hurriedly stopped them. If we don't attack, are we going to wait for death here? In front of a life and death crisis, these archaic descendant species didn't care if they would offend Xiaohao. That golden wolf's image is formed by the array. The more precious techniques you use, the more energy the altar will absorb, and the stronger the golden wolf will be. Little Stone looked at the archaic descendant species and shook his head speechlessly. Speaking of which, don't you all have brains? Why are you acting so rashly? The method to break this altar's array is too simple. Tai Hao, you have a way to break the array? Hearing Little Stone's words, the archaic descendant species were overjoyed. They hurriedly stopped and looked at Little Stone with anticipation. When the golden wolf's image swallowed the golden-horned white goat, you all only wanted to break the light screen, but you didn't notice that the golden wolf's life force was poured into this stone egg. Xiaohao pointed at the stone egg floating in the air and smiled. So the key is in this stone egg. With a wave of his hand, a formless wave swept across, and the stone egg floating in the divine light disappeared without a trace. Now, don't use precious techniques. Just use your physical strength. Break the altar. Chapter 609. Boom! After the group of archaic descendants smashed the altar for a while, Little Stone made the final decision. The violent and boundless power directly exploded the entire altar. Look, those spiritual herbs. After the light barrier shattered, the outside world appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, the sacred land was in ruins. The ground was dry, the plants were withered, and the spiritual herbs that were as lush as a forest had all turned into ashes. They had only been trapped in the light barrier for a short moment, but the sacred land outside had completely turned into a desert. The altar's glyph array has absorbed all the vitality in this place. This sacred land has been destroyed. Xiaohao shook his head and sighed. The power that originated from the gods has been taken back by the gods. The prosperity of the past is like a bubble. What's there to sigh about? Let's go. Little Stone waved his hand nonchalantly, and his figure whistled through the air. After a while, everyone left the divine cave and returned to the surface. Xiaohao, take out that egg and roast it. Little Stone licked his lips. This egg, if it's not a god, then it's the child of a god. I've eaten archaic descendants and pure-blooded true spirits, but I've never eaten a god. Hiss, the sound of cold air being sucked in could be heard. Cold sweat appeared on the foreheads of the group of archaic descendants. Too savage, too terrifying. In the past, they had only heard of archaic descendants and pure-blooded true spirits eating humans. Now, it seemed like it was the other way around. Young Master Taihao, young Master Xiaohao, thank you for saving us just now. We have important matters to attend to, so we won't disturb you anymore. Goodbye. After hurriedly bidding farewell, the group of archaic descendants flew away as if they were running away. They didn't even dare to look back. They couldn't be blamed for running away. What if the two savage brats didn't feel full after eating the stone egg and wanted to eat an archaic descendant to fill their stomachs? That would be too terrifying. Too terrifying. You guys really ate it? Huolinger saw Xiaohao take out the stone egg. After Little Stone took it, he cast a spell to confine it in midair. Then he spat out a blazing golden crow primordial fire from his hand and roasted the stone egg. This is too wasteful. This stone egg was either a deity or a child of a deity. Shouldn't he take good care of it? He actually ate it directly? Thinking of the terrifying background of Taihao and Xiaohao, even the pure-blooded true spirits at the venerable level could only be used as mounts, and the young gods could only be used as food. It seemed normal. Junior sister, when it's done, I'll give you a share too. But little Shirtu raised his eyes and glanced at Huoling's chest. Junior sister, you're really too fat. You should eat less later. At this time, Huolinger also understood what Taihao meant by too fat. In Huolinger's eyes, this was clearly taking liberties. Huolinger's face flushed red. She was so angry that the roots of her teeth itched. She gnashed her teeth. The golden crow primordial fire was fierce and violent. Under the roasting of the raging flames, the stone egg that was imprisoned in midair seemed to tremble for a moment before it went silent again. Not long after, the egg was really cooked. With a stroke of the golden wings, the hard eggshell broke open, revealing the white, jade-like egg white. Wisps of divine light lingered around it, and the fragrance was intoxicating. You can eat now. With a wave of the sword wings, he cut off a piece of egg white and threw it to Huolinger. This is yours. I only have this much. The stone egg was 3 feet in diameter, but Huolinger only had a small piece that was less than 3 inches in diameter. Little Shirtu and Xiaohao each had half, holding the fragrant divine egg and nibbling on it happily. This made Huolinger depressed and angry. Your physique is not good. You can't take it if you eat too much. Xiaohao raised his head and smiled at Huolinger. The young gods are stronger than pure-blooded true spirits. It's already good that you can finish this. Is that so? Huolinger was skeptical. She put a piece of egg white in her hand to her mouth, opened her cherry mouth, and gently bit down. The fragrance spread, leaving a fragrance in her mouth. The delicious taste stimulated her taste buds, making Huolinger's body tremble. She wanted to swallow her tongue. However, in the next moment, a huge wave of heat was produced from her stomach. It was like burning and violent lava, as if there was a volcano in her stomach that was about to erupt. It's actually so powerful. Huolinger did not dare to be negligent. She quickly sat down and cultivated, using her cultivation technique to digest this energy. Boom! Brilliant flames soared into the sky, and Huolinger's body was covered in flames. The phantom of a vermilion bird appeared above her head, spreading its wings and crying, setting off monstrous flames. Do you know how powerful it is now? With your physique, this is the most you can eat. Little Shirtu raised his head and looked at Huolinger. He smiled and shook his head, then continued to eat. Apart from Huolinger's portion, the rest of the egg went into Xiaohao and Little Shirtu's stomachs. After eating so much, the two of them did not show any abnormalities, as if they were just eating some ordinary food. You guys, after Huolinger digested the divine egg, she found that she had only eaten a little. She had been busy for half a day, using her cultivation technique and meditating. However, these two fellows had eaten even more, but they were completely fine. They were actually strong to this extent. A simple comparison made Hualinger's heart filled with shock. She was extremely shocked by their strength. In reality, it was indeed so. After cultivating 9 true spirit treasure techniques, in addition to supreme mountain heavenly art, 6 paths of reincarnation heavenly art, and human immortal martial way, the two of them were extremely powerful. In addition, the two of them had bodies that were several times stronger than pure-blooded true spirit youths. With the 10 heavenly passages realm, digesting this divine egg was not difficult at all. Junior sister, this matter is over. We still have matters to attend to, so we'll take our leave first. The two of them were originally going to find the immortal divine spring. Now that they had finished eating the divine egg, there was no need for them to stay here. In the 100 Shattering Mountain secret realm, the early stages are the battles between the various clans' geniuses. With the 2 senior brothers' cultivations, you will naturally be successful. However, when the secret realm is about to close, the ancient seal will open and all kinds of sealed secret areas will open. Even Beast King realm existences will come out. Senior brothers, you must be careful. Hualinger reminded them with concern. Many thanks for the reminder, junior sister. We will be careful. Xiaohao smiled and nodded. He spread his wings and whistled through the air. Junior sister, although you're a fatty, you're also a beautiful fatty. Little Stone waved his hand, and a golden light rushed out, breaking through the sky and disappearing into the horizon. You bastard! Hualinger fiercely stomped her foot. However, that beautiful fatty made Hualinger angry, but also secretly happy. Taihao, this fellow is really a bad guy. All right, if men were not bad, women would not like them. Hualinger already had some strange feelings towards Little Stone. In this life, between Hualinger and Little Stone, the separation of hundreds of thousands of years, the fall into darkness, the countless regrets and pain, would probably not happen again. One had to know that even Heaven Emperor Huang himself was incomparably miserable. The people around him were also very miserable. Chapter 610. Hey, Xiaohao, do you know where the immortal divine spring is? Little Stone caught up to Xiaohao and asked. From his point of view, it was the first time the two had entered the 100 Broken Mountain Range. They had never come into contact with any information about the 100 Broken Mountain Range, so they naturally wouldn't know where the immortal divine spring was. I know. Xiaohao nodded at Little Stone. The Supreme Palace has a map of the 100 Broken Mountain Range. They even have this? Is the Supreme Palace that powerful? Little Stone raised his head in surprise and praised. The Supreme Palace is indeed worthy of being the sacred ground created by the Grand Empyrean. The Grand Empyrean can see through the world with a single thought. The 100 Broken Mountain Range's secret realm naturally can't escape his eyes. Ever since they entered the 100 Broken Mountain Range's secret realm, the Supreme Palace's crystal tablet had displayed all the maps of the secret realm. Every secret realm and all kinds of special products were listed out in great detail. The immortal divine spring is in the 100 Broken Mountain Range's herb garden. In the 100 herb garden, other than the immortal divine spring, there are also countless spiritual medicines. It's worth taking a look. The two of them spread out their golden wings and shot into the sky like bolts of lightning, leaving a trail of golden light behind them. Their momentum was vast and mighty. After releasing the aura of the divine artifact in Zhao's wings, the two avoided unnecessary trouble. They didn't want to be like those archaic descendants from before who couldn't recognize them and jumped out to provoke them. That's Taihao and Xiaohao, 2 pairs of golden wings, vast and mighty divine might. This kind of obvious symbol made everyone who saw this scene guess the identity of these 2 people. Savage, devilish brats were not to be trifled with. After understanding the identities of the two, no one dared to come forward to seek death. That's the 100 herb garden. In front of them was a valley. Auspicious vapors rose and auspicious clouds circulated. Looking from afar, They could vaguely make out that it was a herb garden. The herb garden was filled with brilliant light and vibrant colors. Endless amounts of plant essence surged like a tide. It's indeed a good place. It's much better than the demonic spirit lake's herb garden. Little Stone looked at the valley's aura and nodded in praise. Good fellow, such rich plant essence. Could it be that all the spiritual medicines that grow here are all precious medicines? Let's go take a look. With a turn of its wings, the two of them landed in front of the valley where the 100 Herb Garden was located. It was as if there was a curtain of light covering the entire valley. As the spiritual light lingered, the scene in the valley was incomparably mystical, like a fairyland. Legend has it that this 100 Herb Garden was created by an ancient deity. Looking at this scene, it is indeed very mysterious. Xiaohao nodded and gestured to little Shurtu. Let's go. Let's see what's inside. Taking a step forward, Zhang Xian passed through the barrier of light, and it was as if he had entered another world. Boom! The void shook violently as a huge pressure enveloped them. It was as if a heavy mountain was pressing down on them. This is a runic array, or a domain. This enormous pressure was nothing to the two of them, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. It should be the domain's effect. Even the runic treasured arts can't be used. Little Shurtu waved his hand, and a spark of fire flashed across his fingertips before it was extinguished in an instant. This was the golden crow true fire. In this 100 Herb Garden, a true spirit treasured art like the golden crow true fire could only display a trace of fire, and it was extinguished in an instant. The 100 Herb Garden restricts all runic treasured arts. We can only use the strength of our bodies. For us, it doesn't matter whether we use treasured arts or not. With their bodies, they didn't lose much battle strength, even if they didn't use treasured arts. Boom! In the distance, a violent explosion erupted in the center of the 100 Herb Garden. Roar! Roar! The roars of fierce beasts and birds of prey could be heard. Vaguely, two huge figures could be seen fighting. Bai Fong and Zhu Jian. These are two pure-blooded true spirit cubs, right? They're actually fighting? Little Shurtu chuckled. Let's go and see how capable these pure-blooded true spirit cubs are. With a leap, little Shidu's figure whistled as he charged forward. In a 100 Herb Garden, the power outside the body was restricted. Ying Zhao's wings could no longer be used. They could only rely on their own strength to advance. Be careful. Xiaohao was about to follow when he suddenly saw a purple light break through the air. It rushed out like lightning and fiercely stabbed towards little Shurtu. Oomph! You dare to sneak attack me? Little Shurtu roared angrily, turned around, and punched out. A vast amount of blood and chi surged, and a huge amount of power erupted. The punch was as heavy as a mountain. Bang! With a loud explosion, the purple light exploded. Juice splattered everywhere, and debris flew everywhere. It's actually a tree vine? Seeing the broken purple vine, little Shurtu frowned. Even tree vines know how to sneak attack? This place is indeed strange. It's not just tree vines. Xiaohao turned around and slapped out. An ancient tree with knotted branches was smashed to pieces by Xiaohao's palm. The countless roots that had shot out from the ground like spears immediately fell limply to the ground. Vines can sneak attack, so can ancient trees. Then what about little Shurtu? Does he also sneak attack? Little Shurtu frowned and glanced around. He kicked a rock next to him and sent it flying. Ah, don't kill me. Don't kill me. I didn't sneak attack. Oh no. No, I won't sneak attack. I definitely won't sneak attack. In front of the two people's stupefied gazes, this 1-foot square rock that was sent flying by little Shidu's kick actually spoke. What exactly are you? Little Shurtu frowned. His figure flashed, and he reached out, grabbing the rock. I'm just an ordinary rock. Spare me. Spare me. From within the rock, a panicked voice screamed and begged for mercy. It'd be strange if I believed you. Little Shurtu snorted and clenched his fist. A vast amount of power condensed on his fist. How powerful was my kick just now? If it was an ordinary rock, it would have been smashed to pieces. You didn't even leave a mark on it. So how could it be an ordinary rock? Why are you talking nonsense with it? Mountain rock-type guardian spirits aren't rare. There's another mountain near Little Lonely Mountain that has become a guardian spirit. If it tells the truth, I'll spare its life. If it doesn't, I'll just smash it to pieces. Xiaohao's face was dark. His eyes were cold, and his whole body blossomed with a brilliant aura of qi and blood. Huh? Smash me? You want to smash me? At this time, the voice from within the rock no longer begged for mercy. Instead, it became incomparably arrogant, and its attitude was extremely unyielding. You two juniors, this old man is the guardian spirit stone of the 100 Herb Garden. Everything in the 100 Herb Garden is under this old man's control. On top of the rock, streams of light flickered. The seemingly ordinary rock instantly became multicolored and mysterious. Brat, if you want to gain anything in the 100 Herb Garden, you'll have to see if this old man agrees. If you offend this old man, the 100 Herb Garden's domain will directly blast you out. You'll forever. You still dare to be stubborn. Before the voice from within the rock finished speaking, little Shidu's fist smashed down. It hurts. It hurts. From within the rock, a mournful scream burst out, as if it was beaten to a miserable state. In reality, little Shidu blew on his fist and grimaced. What exactly is this thing? Why is it so hard? Even my hand is hurting. This should be the legendary Divine Striking Stone. The Divine Striking Stone of the archaic Vicious 10. After searching for a bit on the crystal tablet of the Supreme Hall, Xiaohao found the origin of this stone. Archaic Vicious 10? This thing, other than being a little hard, that there doesn't seem to be anything special about it? Little Shidu grabbed the rock and looked at it up and down for a long time, but he still couldn't find any tyrannical characteristics of the archaic Vicious 10. It's indestructible. It can reflect all attacks, and it also has a sure hit characteristic. Just based on this, the Divine Striking Stone is one of the archaic Vicious 10. So it's like this. Little Shidu raised the rock in his hand and laughed loudly. Not bad. Not bad. In the future, it'll be great to smash people with this thing. No, when I smash people, it'll hurt a lot. The Divine Striking Stone wailed in pain, as if it was lamenting its future fate. If this thing fell into little Shidu's hands, it would be a good brick. Chapter 611. Let me see the Divine Striking Stone. At this time, Xiaohao took the Divine Striking Stone from Little Stone's hand. Xiaohao looked down at the Divine Striking Stone in his hand and flicked it a few times with his finger. A smile appeared on his face. Divine Striking Stone, you stayed in the 100 Herb Garden for a long time. Just now, you said something about the 100 Herb Garden's mansion guarding Divine Stone. Presumably, there really is a mansion guarding Divine Stone. So, tell me the answer. What mansion guarding Divine Stone? No, absolutely no. That was obviously made up to deceive you. Hearing Xiaohao's words, the Divine Striking Stone seemed to tremble slightly and then flatly denied it. You'd better tell me the truth. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to deal with you. Xiaohao tapped the Divine Striking Stone a few times. Tell me, where is the mansion guarding Divine Stone? Gee, since you know that I'm a Divine Striking Stone, you should know my ability. Not to mention your current strength. Even if your strength increased by a few more realms, what can you do to me? The Divine Striking Stone took a stance and sneered disdainfully at Xiaohao. Legend has it that the Divine Striking Stone was the first choice of the ancient Almighty for refining weapons. Speaking of refining weapons, I also have a lot of experience. I'll let you experience it first. With a wave of his hand, an invisible wave swept past. The Divine Striking Stone was instantly stored in the Supreme Palace. After the refining pavilion is built, I can also refine weapons in the Supreme Palace. After throwing the Divine Striking Stone into the Supreme Palace's refining pavilion, a vast and mighty five-colored light surged out. A power that could annihilate and disintegrate all things enveloped the Divine Striking Stone. Spare me. Spare me. I confess. I confess. Save me. I surrender. Feeling the terrifying power contained in the five-colored light, The divine striking stone was so frightened that its entire body trembled. It immediately screamed and hurriedly begged for mercy. Now you know how powerful I am. Xiaohao reached out and took out the divine striking stone. Speak. Where is the mansion guarding divine stone? The mansion guarding divine stone is me. The divine striking stone seemed to have accepted its fate and obediently confessed. I'm really the mansion guarding divine stone. I shed my original body and was reborn from nirvana. The real mansion guarding divine stone is my original body. You're really dishonest. Little Stone walked up and knocked on the divine stone. Xiaohao, just refine it. Spare me. Spare my life. I'm telling the truth. The treasure guarding divine stone is in the center of the 100 Herb Garden, where the eternal divine spring is. The divine striking stone hurriedly confessed. I hope you're telling the truth. Xiaohao nodded and handed the divine striking stone to Little Shirtu. This herb garden looks pretty good. His family still lacked such a medicinal garden. Let's just carry it home. I love it the most. Little Shirtu laughed heartily and agreed. Following the path pointed out by the divine striking stone, the two of them advanced towards the center of the herb garden. As they went deeper into the medicinal garden, the spirit qi in the air became even denser. The spiritual qi in the sky was like clouds, but also like a vast ocean. It was as if they had entered a divine sea. The surroundings were densely covered with countless spiritual herbs. The ancient spiritual herbs were glowing with divine light, and a huge amount of wood essence was like a rainbow soaring into the sky, brilliant and brilliant. At a glance, the vast medicinal garden was densely covered with all kinds of spiritual herbs. There were even some spiritual herbs that had reached the limit of their growth and withered, turning into piles of divine soil overflowing with spiritual light. Good heavens, this herb garden is really extraordinary. It's just right to move home. Seeing this scene, Little Shita's desire to carry the herb garden home became even stronger. Boom! After turning around a medicinal field, a divine light appeared in front of them again, illuminating the entire sky with golden light. Is it the eternal divine spring? In the brilliant divine light, there was a small pool that emitted a brilliant golden light. It was as dazzling as the clouds, and a vast brilliance illuminated the entire world. Even though they were still far away, Xiaohao and Little Shirtu could feel an extremely powerful life source. This is the eternal divine spring. It's really extraordinary, Little Shirtu exclaimed and continued to walk forward. After walking for a short distance, figures appeared in front of them. These people must be the Bai Feng, Zhu Jian, and other pure-blooded creatures that they had seen before. As they approached the small pool of the eternal divine spring, Xiaohao and Little Shirtu could clearly see the situation in front of them. In front of the golden pool, a few young pure-blooded true spirits were resisting the boundless pressure of the domain near the pool and walking towards it step by step. Outside the small pool, a few creatures were struggling to pick the spiritual herbs beside the pool. Some archaic descendants and a few human cultivators were coughing up blood as they struggled to move towards the spiritual herbs under the immense pressure of the domain. More people are coming? Great. I don't have enough servants, so I'll take you in as servants. A giant golden beast stood up and roared at Xiaohao and Little Shirtu. Why aren't you coming over? Is there something wrong with your head? I didn't even make trouble for you when you picked my spiritual herbs, but you actually dare to provoke me? Little Shirtu had long regarded the entire 100 Herb Garden as his own, so he was already dissatisfied with the way these people picked spiritual herbs. At this moment, when he heard the golden beast's clamor, Little Shirtu was instantly enraged. I've taken a liking to this place. Little Shirtu stretched out his hand and pointed at the surroundings. He roared angrily, "Everything here is mine. All of you, get out of here." He took a step forward, and his incomparably tyrannical physical strength caused the ground beneath his feet to shake violently. His divine might was awe-inspiring and domineering. Xiaohao's declaration caused everyone near the divine spring to look sideways. Some people's faces were full of disdain, some ignored it, and some flew into a rage. Of course, there were also a few people whose faces were full of shock. Despicable human, you're courting death. The golden beast roared angrily, waved its huge paw, and slapped down on little Shirtu. You're the one courting death. Little Shitu's eyes were cold. The words despicable human made little Shirtu even angrier, and the strength of his hand also increased. King of Destruction Fist. In this place where only the physical strength of the body could be used, the fist technique of the human immortal martial way was able to display the strongest and most invincible power. Boom! With one punch, everything was destroyed. Under this punch, the golden beast exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky with a boom. It's actually so strong. Everyone near the divine spring was shocked by little Shitu's punch. Get out of here! Little Shirtu was unforgiving. He waved his fist and fiercely punched the few pure-blooded true spirits that were approaching the divine spring. Boom! The mighty shockwave swept across like a raging tide. The pure-blooded true spirits, who were already suppressed by the domain near the divine spring, spat out mouthfuls of blood even though they tried their best to resist. Taihao, you're too domineering. At this moment, an ethereal young girl dressed in purple turned around and glared at little Shirtu with a face full of anger. You know me? That's great. Little Shirtu grinned. Since you know me, then you should know my temper. Get out of here, or die. Leave this place. Xiaohao also stepped out, releasing a monstrous divine aura. Taihao, Xiaohao, don't be too arrogant. This is the 100 Break Mountain secret realm. No matter how big the power behind you is, you can only rely on yourself here. The purple-clothed young girl's eyes were cold. You two are indeed very strong, but if we work together, it won't be hard to take you down. With just you evil beasts? Little Shirtu stretched out a finger and lightly shook it. Little Shirtu curled his lips. Come at me together. Chapter 612. You're too arrogant. Hearing Little Stone's words, the pure-blooded true spirits couldn't stand it anymore. No matter how powerful Taihao was, they couldn't defeat him even if they worked together. Thus, the Baifeng, Zhu Jian, the Rock, the Green Dragon, and the girl in purple all turned around and retreated from the Holy Spring. Taihao, let's see how powerful you are. The pure-blooded true spirits roared and charged at Taihao. Rock's spreading wings. The Rock's golden wings were like two giant swords that slashed at Little Stone's head. Baifeng's claw. The Baifeng only had one leg, but that leg was its most powerful weapon, overturning rivers and seas. The Green Dragon soared into the sky like a dragon. Its huge body seemed to be stirring up rivers and seas. Mountain-cutting shears. Zhu Jian's long black tail was like a pair of sharp scissors that tore through the sky and clouds. Sky Cloud Palm. The girl in purple reached out her white palm and pressed it down on Xiaohao. The five of them worked together and used their most powerful skills. Heaven's shocking divine might, boundless mighty force, shocking everyone to the extreme. However, smash. Little Stone grabbed an inconspicuous stone and roared. He swung the stone and smashed it one by one. Bang! The golden-winged Great Pung was seeing stars, and a big bump appeared on its forehead. Its body swayed, and it staggered, falling to the ground. It hurts. Stop smashing. The divine striking stone's painful screams seemed to pierce the eardrums. Bang! Little Stone didn't show any mercy. He ignored the divine striking stone's screams and kept smashing. Bang! The Baifeng's head was bleeding. It screamed and trembled. Bang! A large bump appeared on the head of the green flood dragon that had soared into the air. Its figure swayed, and it fell to the ground with a boom. Bang! Zhu Jian wailed and rolled on the ground with his head in his hands. I surrender. When Little Stone raised the stone and was about to smash at the girl in purple screamed and quickly retreated, shouting, I surrender. It hurts. The divine striking stone screams and howls continued to grow louder and louder. Hearing the divine striking stone screams, the pure-blooded true spirits that were lying on the ground and howling were so angry that their bodies trembled. Bastard, we're the ones in pain. You're just a rock. What's it to be in pain for? The divine striking stone was indestructible and incomparably hard. More importantly, using the divine striking stone to attack also had a guaranteed hit property. Thus, little Shirtu swung the divine striking stone and hit one of them accurately. Several pure-blooded true spirits were knocked down with a brick each. What a powerful stone. Oomph. Goodbye. After being knocked down by Little Stone's brick, the pure-blooded true spirits felt very indignant. However, since he had already lost, he was too ashamed to stay here. Even the purple-clothed girl who wasn't hit by the brick was scared witless and hurriedly fled. If he also got hit by a brick, his forehead would be swollen and he wouldn't be able to see anyone. Thus, everyone bid their farewells and left the 100 garden. All right, we're the only ones left here. Divine striking stone, where's the mansion guarding divine stone? Little Stone knocked a few times on the divine striking stone to stop it from howling and asked loudly, "It's right there, in the pool of the divine fountain of youth. The base is the mansion guarding divine stone." The divine striking stone had already been taught a lesson and could only tell the truth. So it's this base? Xiaohao walked a few steps to the side of the pool and saw the base of the divine fountain of youth that was 1 zhang wide. The gray rock was unremarkable, like the edge of a well. If it wasn't for the divine striking stone's reminder, he really wouldn't have noticed anything unusual. Tell me the method to refine the mansion guarding divine stone. If they wanted to carry the entire 100 garden away, they naturally had to refine the mansion guarding divine stone. Ow. All right. In front of the two savage brats, the divine striking stone had no choice but to admit defeat. It hurriedly passed on the refining method. Divine stone refining. Vast amounts of qi and blood poured into the base of the mansion guarding divine stone like a tidal wave. According to the method given by the divine striking stone, they continuously refined the mansion guarding divine stone. Wong, a rumbling sound rang out. Endless spiritual light circulated. On the ground of the 100 garden, countless shining runes condensed, forming a huge formation. It's done, Xiaohao called out to little Shirtu. The two of them rose into the air and left the 100 garden. Collect. A ray of spiritual light shot out. The entire 100 garden rumbled and exploded with endless radiance. Amidst the light that was as vast as the ocean, the huge 100 garden continued to shrink, turning into a potted garden with a radius of about a foot. With a wave of his hand, Xiaohao stored the bonsai from the 100 garden into the Supreme Hall. Ha! We could take it home now. Little Shirtu laughed loudly. If we take it home, it will be quite useful. Xiaohao also happily nodded his head. The 100 garden has been collected. Apart from the ruins, only the dividing treasure cliff is worth exploring. Xiaohao pointed in a direction. That's the ruins over there. There are countless ancient talisman treasures. We can collect them all for the people of Stone Village. Okay, then let's go. Little Shirtu smiled and agreed. Little Shirtu and Xiaohao didn't have much use for talisman treasures. However, these things were still very useful to the people of Stone Village. Spreading their wings, the two of them broke through the air and flew in the direction of the ruins. Not long after, the ruins appeared in front of the two of them. Two majestic stone mountains towered into the clouds, standing tall like a door. Looking from the middle of the two stone mountains, one could see a vast expanse of ruins. The ruins were dusky and desolate. The ground was littered with rubble, and the broken walls were endless. This was an ancient ruin. Rumor has it that the 100 Break Mountain Range once had a glorious ancient country. These ruins are probably the ruins left behind by that ancient country. Xiaohao nodded his head towards little Shirtu. There are countless talisman treasures buried in the ruins. Let's go collect some. Boom. Just as Xiaohao was talking, an earth-shattering sound suddenly came from the ruins. The sound was like thunder, and the light was brilliant. It was as if a scorching sun had jumped out of the sky and exploded with brilliant radiance, illuminating the entire ruins. Golden crow divine wings, flood dragon horn, black tortoise shell, truth listener's tooth, Kuwait bull war drum. Countless divine weapons and treasures bloomed with endless divine radiance and swept out like a raging tide. The power was vast and mighty, covering the sky and earth. Treasures awakening, divine weapon tide. Run. Seeing such an earth-shaking commotion, the countless people searching for treasures in the land of ancient ruins paled in fright. They fled in all directions in panic. Bang! The Kuwait bull war drum let out an earth-shattering sound, and a boundless shockwave swept through the world. Bang! 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 The creatures that were hit by this shockwave all exploded into a bloody mist. Boom! The golden crow divine wings flapped, and the golden crow true fire that covered the sky and earth howled out. Another large group of people were burned to ashes by this violent flame. In an instant, the divine weapon tide swept through the entire ruins. Other than a few powerful people who escaped the ruins, the majority of the people were drowned by the divine weapon tide and died without leaving behind any ashes. Chapter 613. Good heavens! There really are countless divine weapons and treasures. Little Stone's eyes lit up as he shouted in surprise. Take them! Take them! Xiaohao, let's take them all. We definitely can't let them go. Xiaohao nodded and reached out his hand. A golden net appeared in his hand. This is the divine weapon from Spider's house. You also have a piece of Spider's treasure bone. We can activate this divine weapon net together. Okay. Little Stone took out a piece of golden treasure bone and pressed it on the divine weapon net. Inescapable net. The two of them worked together and used the golden spider's treasure bone to activate the divine weapon net, pushing the power of the divine weapon net to its maximum. Swoosh! Brilliant golden light soared into the sky, and a net that covered the sky appeared in the sky. Like casting a net to catch fish, it enveloped the tide of divine weapons. Boom! The inescapable net caught the tide of divine weapons in one fell swoop. Then the various divine weapons in the net exploded at the same time, and an endless impact slammed into the net. Damn it! Fortunately, it's only the instinctive counterattack of the divine weapons. Otherwise, even if we use the golden spider's treasure bone to activate the divine weapon net, we won't be able to withstand the impact. Xiaohao grunted as he poured all his strength into the golden spider's treasure bone. Little Stone also released his strength at the same time, cooperating with Xiaohao's actions. A huge golden spider's shadow appeared, and its mighty power penetrated the divine weapon net. Amidst the rumbling and violent vibrations, the net continued to shrink and gather. Done. When a net shrank to a sufficient size, Xiaohao waved his hand, and an invisible wave swept past. Together with the net and countless divine weapons, they were all taken into the Supreme Palace. Ha ha ha! We did it! Little Shirtu laughed heartily and began to shout in high spirits. That's Taihao and Xiaohao. They actually caught the tide of divine weapons in one fell swoop. It's too terrifying. It's really too frightening. The people who escaped from the ruins saw this scene from afar and were so shocked that they couldn't close their mouths for a long time. They were chased away by the tide of divine weapons and suffered heavy casualties. Now, Taihao and Xiaohao had captured all of the divine weapons in one fell swoop. That spider web is the demonic spirit lake's divine weapon, the inescapable net, right? The demonic spirit lake was annihilated, and even the divine artifact fell into their hands. Let's go. Stop looking. Xiaohao and Taihao are not people we can afford to offend. These people sighed inwardly, shook their heads, and turned to leave. Even if they were jealous of Xiaohao and Taihao's gains, it depended on whether they had the strength to do so. I thought that there would be a few blind people who would take advantage of us while we were collecting the tide of divine weapons. In the end, no one came up. Little Shirtu shook his head in disappointment. We still have the wings of Yingzhao. With their strength, they won't be able to withstand the attack of the wings of Ying Zhao. Naturally, they won't come to court death. Xiao Hao smiled and pointed in the direction of the ruins. Over there, there's another treasure that slipped away from the inescapable net. To be able to escape the inescapable net, it must be something extraordinary. Then let's catch it. Little Shirtu leaped up, spread his wings, and flew in the direction that Xiao Hao pointed. A moment later, the two of them arrived at a small valley. The valley was calm, and there was not the slightest bit of abnormality. It seemed to be an ordinary valley. Ha ha! Did this treasure have a mind of its own? What a pity! Too much is as bad as not enough. These ruins were already very extraordinary. So how could there be such an ordinary valley? Isn't this just making it more conspicuous? Little Shirtu laughed loudly. His eyes were like lightning, constantly scanning the valley. So it's not hiding, but devouring the chi of heaven and earth? On a rock in the middle of the valley sat a small bone pagoda that was about a foot tall. It was sparkling and translucent, and it looked like white jade. At this moment, the small pagoda was constantly devouring the chi of heaven and earth. Even the chi of the entire valley was absorbed by it. This thing looks a little magical. Little Shirtu reached out and easily caught the small pagoda in his hand. Young man, I'll make a deal with you. Give me that wing relic of yours, and I'll fight for you once. You can choose any opponent below the god level. As long as you keep offering sacrifices to me, I'll guarantee that you can do whatever you want. After the bone pagoda entered his hand, a voice sounded in Little Shirtu's mind. It really is sentient. Little Shirtu looked at the bone pagoda in his hand and shook his head with a smile. I'll give you the wings of Ying Zhao, and then I'll fight for you once. You can even choose any opponent below the god level. Why would I need you to fight for me against a venerable level opponent? Even my mount is a pure-blooded true spirit at the venerable level. The small bone pagoda trembled violently and was speechless for a long time. It couldn't be, right? How could a random trade partner have such a terrifying background? A pure-blooded true spirit whose mount was at the venerable level? Could it be that, after so many years, the venerables of this world were worthless? Were children nowadays so hard to fool? Looks like you're not of much use anymore. Little Shirtu pursed his lips. He grabbed the small pagoda and turned to walk out of the valley. Xiao Hao, I don't have anything good, so I found this thing. Although it's sentient, it only has the power of a venerable level at most. And every time it's used, it needs to be sacrificed with a divine weapon. This thing is completely useless. Little Shirtu waved the small pagoda in his hand at Xiao Hao with a look of disdain, as if he was very disdainful of this small pagoda's ability. The power of a venerable level, that's the level of the Qiong-Chi and the sky-devouring sparrow. The Qiong-Chi and the sky-devouring sparrow are both willing to work hard without complaint. Does this thing need a divine weapon to be sacrificed? What's the use of that? Throw it away. Xiao Hao was also very displeased with this bone pagoda that needed a divine weapon to be used. It didn't have much ability, but it was arrogant. What was the use of it? Bastard. This old man is an immortal weapon. You two bastards. If this old man hadn't been injured, wouldn't a mere venerable be blown to death? Even now, if this old man wants to kill a venerable, it's just a matter of seconds. The bone pagoda was instantly enraged by the two little fellows' disdain. It couldn't help but roar. Even if you used to be an immortal weapon, isn't that all you have now? You want to use our hands to help you recover. What a good plan. If you don't show us some real ability, you can just wait here for the fated person. Little Shirtu snorted and grabbed the bone pagoda, about to throw it out. Wait. It wasn't easy to find such a wealthy person. How could the bone pagoda bear to continue waiting for the fated person? It hurriedly spoke out. Little fellow, although this old man's strength isn't too strong, this old man is an immortal weapon. With this old man's guidance, your cultivation path will definitely be smooth. Guidance? You're just a mere immortal artifact, and an incomplete one at that. My family's guardian spirit is an ancient immortal spirit. My family's ancestral master, the Grand Celestial Venerable, is an immortal king from the immortal era. Do I still need your guidance? Xiao Hao already knew the history of the Supreme Hall that Liu had lied about in the Ancestral Hall. At this moment, he was very disdainful of the Bone Pagoda's so-called guidance. Immortal spirit? Immortal king? The Bone Pagoda shuddered and was dumbfounded. Impossible, right? I can't be that unlucky, right? Two kids that I casually tricked actually have such a big background? How am I supposed to survive? At this moment, the Bone Pagoda was depressed. Chapter 614. Lil Pagoda gave in. Since these two little fellows had such a terrifying background, following them would definitely bring many benefits. Since it agreed to help Little Shirtu, Gu Pagoda obediently followed Little Shirtu. Only the Treasure Division Cliff is left in the 100-shattering mountain secret realm. That's where the ancient sacred weapons were buried. According to legends, during the ancient war, the sacred weapons were broken and buried there. Xiao Hao pointed in the direction of the Treasure Division Cliff and smiled at Little Shirtu. Although they are all broken weapons, it's still worth exploring. Then what are we waiting for? With a flap of their wings, the two flew up and rushed towards the Treasure Division Cliff. Not long after, a towering mountain appeared in front of the two of them. The entire mountain was dark red, as if it was soaked in blood. It emitted an ancient and desolate aura. At this moment, on the mountain, countless figures were shuttling back and forth, searching for the ancient sacred weapons buried in the Treasure Division Cliff. The Treasure Division Cliff has been sealed by the ancient sacred weapons. Only by resonating with the sacred weapons can they be born. Xiao Hao glanced at Little Shirtu and smiled. The ancient sacred weapons are divine spirit realm experts. The Treasure Division Cliff seal is very strong, but there's no way to carry it home. Don't even think about it. Little Shirtu smiled embarrassedly. He really did have the thought of carrying the Treasure Division Cliff back home. Let's go up. The strongest divine weapon was a divine weapon. Although they're all broken, they're still very powerful. Don't be careless. The strongest weapons of the Treasure Division Cliff were all buried at the peak of the mountain. The two of them weren't too interested in the hidden weapons at the foot of the mountain. They directly flew up and rushed to the peak of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, there were huge rocks of all shapes and sizes. They were jagged and grotesque. Above each huge rock, there was a faint and endless killing aura. It was as if there were thousands of soldiers and horses shouting, their killing aura soaring to the sky. On the peak of the mountain, there were also many people shuttling back and forth. Everyone was looking for their own opportunities, but there were no conflicts. No one has found a sacred weapon yet. The peak of the mountain was so peaceful, and there was no fighting. The only possibility was that no one had found a sacred weapon yet. Otherwise, if they couldn't find one, couldn't they snatch it? Let's split up. Let's see if we can find any divine weapons. Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu split up and began to search around the mountain peak filled with strange rocks. Every boulder on a mountain peak had a divine weapon buried within it. However, if one could not sense the divine weapon would remain dormant and would not appear. Of course, it wasn't as if no one had thought of breaking the rocks and forcibly taking out the divine weapon. However, the pile of bones on the ground had already shown the consequences of doing so. Actually, I don't lack divine artifacts. However, if we can obtain a divine artifact, it's still worth quite a bit. As Xiao Hao walked along the cliff, he released his divine soul in an attempt to sense these silent and broken divine weapons. Along the way, Zhang Xian scanned his surroundings with his spiritual energy. There was no response at all. After circling around for a while, a strange rock at the center of the mountain peak resonated with Xiao Hao. This rock was very strange. It seemed to be formed from two pieces of rock that were intertwined with each other. It was as if a cross had been made. Clang! Vaguely, Xiao Hao heard the sound of metal clashing. It was as if two sharp blades had collided with each other, emitting a trembling sound. A sharp intent rushed straight to his forehead. Endless murderous intent made Xiao Hao's heart turn cold. What kind of weapon is this? Why is the murderous intent so strong? Following his senses, Xiaohao stretched out his hands and pressed on this intertwined boulder. Boom! The mountain rocks collapsed. A brilliant light appeared. Two incomparably sharp, white lights shot into the sky like a white rainbow piercing the sun. The endless murderous aura made people tremble with fear. A divine weapon has appeared. This scene alarmed the people who were searching for treasures in the surroundings. Streams of light flew past. A large group of people rushed over with a howl. That's Xiaohao. In front of everyone, a youth in black stood in the air. A pair of brilliant golden wings spread out behind his back. His entire body was vast and mighty, as if a god had descended to the mortal world. Seeing that the one who obtained the treasure was Xiaohao, these people also dispelled the thought of snatching it by force. What exactly is a divine weapon that has appeared? In Xiaohao's hands, he held a pair of broken fangs. The endless murderous aura was emitted from this pair of fangs. Could this be the white tiger's fangs? Yes. This is a pair of long sabers refined by a white tiger, true spirit in the godly spirit realm. It was refined from its own fangs. Unfortunately, it's broken. Everyone saw the pair of long sabers in Xiaohao's hands. One of the sabers had a broken tip, and the other had countless cracks on the blade. Boom! At this moment, another loud noise rushed out. Bastard! Why is it such a broken thing? Immediately after the loud noise, Little Stone's exasperated voice sounded. With a flash of golden light, Little Stone flew over with a howl and landed beside Xiaohao. Xiaohao, although your long sabers are broken, they can still be used. Mine is simply a piece of scrap metal. In Little Stone's hands, he held a rusty and broken sword. Even the sword hilt was rotten. It looked like a broken piece of iron. Taihao also obtained a divine weapon. Unfortunately, his luck isn't too good. This thing should break with a touch, right? When the onlookers saw the broken sword in Little Stone's hands, they felt a lot better. It's good that you obtained something. The divine weapons on the Treasure Division cliff are all broken. Do you still want to complete one? Xiaohao smiled and gave Little Stone a look. There's nothing good here. Let's go. With a flap of his wings, the two of them flew into the air and out of the Treasure Division cliff. Xiaohao, you gave me a look just now. Is my broken sword really something good? Landing on a mountain far away, Little Stone raised the broken sword and asked Xiaohao, I have to see to be sure. Reaching out to take Little Stone's broken sword, Xiaohao waved his hand and put the broken sword into the Supreme Hall. With a sweep of the five-colored light in the crafting pavilion, the essence of the broken sword was completely clear. Good fellow. The Three Spirits' true shape sword is made of dragon teeth, phoenix beak, and unicorn horn. This sword is indeed extraordinary. The crafting pavilion immediately analyzed the material of the broken sword. Seeing the material, Xiaohao was full of praise. It really is an ancient divine weapon. Just the material alone is enough to scare people to death. It's actually so good. Little Stone blinked his eyes and then became a little disheartened. No matter how good the material is, it's too ugly now. It's okay. I'll just fix it. Xiaohao smiled at Little Stone. Previously, we caught all the divine weapons in the ruins in one fell swoop. Although those divine weapons were not divine weapons, they were still made of extraordinary materials. It's just right to fix this sword. He took out a flood dragon horn and put it into the crafting pavilion. With a sweep of the five-colored light, the flood dragon horn melted into the broken sword, and the broken sword was reforged. It's done. Here you go. With a wave of his hand, a 4-foot-long sword that was entirely black and simple in shape flew through the air and landed in Little Stone's hand. Good. Now it's more like it. Picking up the long sword and waving it a few times, Little Stone put it away with satisfaction. This sword is badly damaged. The Flood Dragon Horn's quality is still a little lacking. Even if it's repaired, this sword still can't reach its original level. However, it's still a pretty good divine weapon. Xiaohao nodded and also put his pair of long sabers into the crafting pavilion to be reforged. He took out a pair of Diding's tusks and fused the 2 elephant tusks into the 2 broken sabers. The pair of sabers could be considered repaired. They also couldn't recover their original power, but they weren't inferior to ordinary divine weapons. At this point, the two little guys were fully equipped with divine weapons and were extremely rich. Chapter 6:15. Rumble. A shocking sound exploded between the heavens and earth. A brilliant radiance soared into the sky, and countless symbols condensed in the air. The entire hundred-shattering mountain secret realm started to shake from this radiance. The hundred-shattering mountain secret realm was about to end. The final test was about to arrive. Seeing this strange scene, the faces of everyone who entered the secret realm became serious. That was because they were about to face an extremely severe test of life and death. The hundred-shattering mountain secret realm was extremely dangerous, and the reason was because of this change. Rumble. The large formation that was condensed from symbols in the sky suddenly exploded with a huge wave of vibration. The vast radiance engulfed the heavens and earth and washed over the entire hundred-shattering mountain secret realm like a tide. The cage was opened. Under the cleansing of the radiance, the countless sealed regions and isolated existences within the hundred-shattering mountain secret realm all broke free from their shackles. Ayo! A shocking roar rang out, shaking the heavens and earth. Within the hundred-shattering mountain secret realm, the sealed regions were released one after another. Countless terrifying auras soared into the sky, and the savage and ruthless auras caused people to tremble in fear. There were people who had analyzed the hundred-shattering mountain secret realm before, and they had some guesses as to what happened before the secret realm ended. They believed that perhaps many years ago, these sealed and isolated ferocious beasts were just a test that the ancient country had set for the disciples of their sect. After the ancient country was destroyed, these sealed and isolated beings continued to grow for countless years. Their strength had already surpassed the ancient country's setting, and thus it became a bloody calamity. Oh, roar! Countless vicious beasts and extremely powerful beings charged out of the sealed regions, and like a raging tide, they engulfed all directions. The slaughter had already begun. Everyone who entered the hundred-shattering mountain secret realm was limited to the heavenly passage realm. However, the vicious beasts sealed within the secret realm did not have this restriction. Children, kill all the outsiders. The feast that occurs once every 500 years has begun. Within the savage and ruthless roars, countless vicious beasts exploded with overflowing evil auras as they charged in all directions. Within the secret realm, waves of miserable cries rang out everywhere. Within the savage and violent vicious beasts, the young geniuses of various clans that entered the hundred-shattering mountain secret realm had no way of resisting. Blood filled the skies, deaths and injuries. Tai Hao, this is our test. Xiao Hao turned his head to look at Little Shi Tu. He stretched out his hand, and two sabers that looked like white jade appeared in his hands. Two extremely sharp white lights blossomed on the sabers. I know. Little Stone nodded his head, and the long sword in his hand was already raised. We entered the hundred-shattering mountains in order to train ourselves in this battle. Now the time has come. Since that's the case, then kill. Xiao Hao shouted loudly. His figure broke through the air and rushed towards the ferocious beast in front of him. He fiercely slashed with his saber, and a vast white light burst out with a monstrous baleful aura. White Tiger, 7 slaughters. The White Tiger of the West was born from the golden energy of heaven and earth. It was a master of slaughter and warfare. The two long sabers emitted a pure white, sharp golden chi that was incomparably sharp and could split the heavens and the earth. Dragon Fawn, Phoenix Beak, Qilin Horn. Little Shi Tu leapt up, and a long sword in his hand exploded with an endless amount of light. It transformed into the shape of a dragon's tooth, a phoenix's beak, and a unicorn's horn as it swept across the enemy. The two of them attacked together, creating a huge commotion. While the ferocious beasts were wreaking havoc and everyone was fleeing, Xiao Hao and Little Stone's large-scale counterattack was extremely conspicuous. Save me! Save me! When Little Stone and Xiao Hao pushed forward and killed their way out of the mountains near the divided treasure cliffs and were about to continue towards the center of the secret realm, they suddenly heard a cry for help. At the side of a vast lake in front of them, a young human girl was being chased by a group of huge flood dragons. She screamed in fear and fled in a sorry state. When the young girl saw Xiao Hao and Little Stone, her eyes immediately lit up. She shouted in surprise, "Senior brothers, I am from Bution Pavilion. Please save me." Bution Pavilion? Hearing the young girl's background, Xiao Hao and Little Stone nodded. "Run this way. We're coming to save you." They raised their weapons and charged towards the flood dragons that were charging out of the lake. Flood dragons were creatures that were similar to crocodiles. These creatures were extremely fast in the water, but on land, their speed was not as terrifying. With the help of the two, the young girl escaped from the encirclement of the flood dragons. "Thank you for saving me, senior brothers." Just as she escaped from danger, before leaving the lakeside, the young girl immediately bowed and thanked the two. She was extremely grateful. "Since we are from the same sect, there is no need to—" Xiao Hao was about to say a few words of modesty when he suddenly saw a talisman appear in the young girl's hand as she bowed. "You guys are dead." The young girl grinned maliciously and threw the talisman into the ground. Boom! The moment the talisman landed, a huge talisman formation appeared. Endless streams of light shuttled back and forth, and a boundless sealing power firmly bound Xiao Hao and Little Stone. This formation did not have any other functions, and its only function was to seal. "Bastard, we saved you out of kindness. Why do you want to harm us?" Being sealed in place by the talisman formation, Little Stone flew into a rage and roared at the young girl. "Why would I harm you?" The reason is very simple. The young girl floating in the air stared at Xiao Hao and Little Stone with a face full of hatred. "Because I am from the Rain Clan." "Well done." The two little bastards have finally been caught. Near the large lake, figures rushed out one after another. There were dozens of people in this group. There were people from the Rain Clan and people from the Martial Imperial Manor. "Ha ha ha! You two little bastards, you are dead." There were actually a few old men in this group. An old man walked up and stared at Xiao Hao and Little Stone. His face was filled with a sinister smile as he said, "Little bastards, we paid a huge price, sealed our own cultivation, and snuck into the 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm. Rain Clan? Martial Imperial Manor?" After knowing the origins of this group of people, Xiao Hao and Little Stone did not find the previous conspiracy strange. Both sides were originally enemies, and after killing the man with dual pupils and destroying the demonic spirit lake, their hatred became even deeper. Between them, it was completely irreconcilable. The 100 Shattering Mountains secret realm is the final bloody calamity, and it is extremely dangerous. Even if your strength is not ordinary, dying in the calamity is very normal. No matter how strong your background is, you will not be able to find us. The old man laughed loudly and pointed at the vast lake beside them. "In this lake, there is also a Beast King realm Hui Dragon. We will watch from afar as you are eaten by the Hui Dragon." "Ha ha! I'm afraid I will have to disappoint you." At this time, Xiao Hao raised his head and glanced at these people. He sighed and shook his head. "We have been trapped for so long, but the Hui Dragon did not attack. Don't you find it strange?" Hearing Xiao Hao's words, everyone suddenly realized that after the imprisonment array was activated, those Hui dragons had actually distanced themselves from the array that Xiao Hao and Little Stone were trapped in. It was as if they were afraid and did not dare to approach. What was going on? It seemed that an unexpected change had occurred in their meticulous plan. The situation made this group of people feel uneasy. "Little bastards, even if no Hui dragon attacked you, this old man will personally take action." An old man's eyes emitted a cold light. His expression was malevolent as he slowly raised his arm. Streaks of runes flashed on the old man's body. It was as if a seal had been removed, and the old man's aura instantly became enormous and vast. Although forcefully removing the seal will cause me some injuries, as long as I can kill you, it will be worth it. Endless wind and rain condensed in the old man's hand. The wind and clouds surged, and the sky changed color. The sky had already started to rain. This was an extremely powerful technique. This was the Rain Clan's true secret technique. Under this attack, Xiao Hao and Little Stone, who were trapped in the array, had no chance of escaping. Death was right in front of them. Chapter 616. Desolate Wind and Cold Rain. The old man shouted, and the brilliance of his precious technique soared into the sky. The desolate wind and cold rain filled the sky. It was as if the desolate autumn wind and the cold autumn rain had taken away all the life on the earth. It was cold and cold, cruel and merciless. The old man used his strongest power for this attack. He had enough confidence to kill Xiao, Hao, and Little Stone on the spot with this move. However, what surprised him was that even in the face of such a powerful and fatal attack, Xiao Hao and Little Stone were still calm. Instead, in their eyes, there seemed to be a trace of pity. Pity? The old man was shocked. Could it be that they were still hiding some trump card? No matter what trump card they had, after being imprisoned by the array, as long as this attack continued, they would definitely die. Unfortunately, he couldn't continue with this attack. Roar! An earth-shattering roar rang out. Huge waves surged and water splashed in all directions. A huge Hui dragon that was hundreds of zhong long broke through the water surface and soared into the sky. Roar! It roared towards the sky, and a bone-chilling water light was spat out from the huge Hui dragon's mouth that was filled with sharp fangs. It swept up like a raging tide. Everyone from the Rain Clan and the martial Imperial Manor were enveloped in this water light. Damn it! Didn't the effect of the drunken dragon grass still take some time? Why did it wake up so early? Amidst the angry roars, a few Rain Clan elders hurriedly used their precious techniques to block the Hui dragon's attack. What made them feel strange was that the Hui dragon's seemingly ferocious attack seemed to be a feint. It didn't have much power and was easily blocked. Thousand Feather Sword. The real attack came from behind. It came from the two children that they had long ignored and thought of as birds in a cage. Unknowingly, the light of the imprisonment array had already dissipated. The two cold-faced youths waved the swords in their hands and activated the wings on their backs. The two Yingzhao wings activated the Thousand Feather Sword at the same time. The sword chi that filled the sky was like a sword-light storm that engulfed the heavens and earth. The sudden and violent attack directly stunned the group of people. First, the 2,000 Feather Sword attacks washed the ground. Under the sword light of the divine weapons, the young geniuses of the two clans that entered the 100-shattering mountain's secret realm had no power to resist. In the blink of an eye, corpses were strewn all over the place. Under this round of attacks, all the young geniuses present, not a single one was left. Damn it, you two brats are actually so vicious? The clansmen of the martial Imperial Manor are all of your blood. Why are you so ruthless? Among the few remaining old men, an old man from the martial Imperial Manor angrily roared at the two of them. It was as if he was filled with hatred and shock for the two of them to be so vicious. Is there something wrong with your brain? You still have the face to talk to me about blood ties? Xiao Hao's eyes radiated a cold light, and the pair of long sabers in his hands fiercely chopped out. White Tiger, 7 Slaughterblade. The two sabers and the white tiger's fangs burst out with a sharp golden chi that could split the sky. It tore the sky and cut the clouds, and nothing could stop it. 3 Spirits, True Shape Sword. On the sword, dragon teeth, phoenix beak, and Qilin horn whistled out, destroying the heavens and destroying the earth. Pooh! With a slash of a blade, one of the Rain Clan's elders was beheaded. Another sword pierced through the air, and another person fell under the sword light. Just now, when they were attacked by Ming Long, they released the power of the seal. In order to deal with the two's 1,000 Feather Sword, they forcefully released the seal. In a short period of time, they released the seal twice. At this moment, they were already unable to release the seal again. If they didn't release the seal, they would only have the power of the heavenly passage realm. In front of Xiao Hao and Little Stone, the power of the heavenly passage realm was like a piece of cake. "Stop! I'm your granduncle. You can't kill me." Seeing the two's power, the Martial Imperial Manor's elder hurriedly shouted, as if he wanted to use this identity to escape with his life. "If you want to kill me, I'll kill you. Who cares who you are?" Xiao Hao angrily shouted and slashed out. The sharp blade light swept through the air, and blood splattered everywhere. A head rolled. Roar! In the lake, the huge Ming Long roared and stirred up huge waves. "Enough! Enough! We'll leave immediately." Little Stone impatiently waved his hand and touched the small pagoda in his hair. He smiled and nodded. "Not bad. Not bad. I didn't expect you to be so capable. You can break the formation and summon the Ming Long, as expected of an immortal artifact." This old man, the small pagoda, was so depressed that it wanted to vomit blood. Breaking such a simple formation and summoning a Ming Long of the Beast King realm. Was it really worthy of being an immortal artifact? "There's nothing here." Xiao Hao raised his head and looked at the center of the 100 Break mountain range. He smiled at Little Stone. At this time, the vicious beasts are slaughtering everywhere. Their nest should be very empty, right? "Huh, that's right." Little Stone's eyes lit up. "Back then, we raided the nest of the Azure Sky Peng family. There are many nests here. Let's go. Let's go." The two figures flashed and sneaked towards the center of the 100 Break mountain range. They put away the winged Ing Zhao and restrained their auras. The two traversed the mountains and explored the nests of the various beast kings. "Wow, there's a nest of puppies here." Little Shirtu came out of a huge cave and carried out 3 small dogs that were about a foot long and covered in black fur. He showed them to Xiao Hao. These are Ming Long cubs. Quickly put them away, or else we'll be in big trouble." Cold sweat appeared on Xiao Hao's forehead. He hurriedly snatched the 3 black viper cubs from Little Shitu's hands and waved his hand to put them into the Supreme Palace. "Quickly remove the aura on your body. Ming Long's nose is very sensitive. If they find out that we stole its cubs, we're done for." Xiao Hao called out to Little Stone. Golden crow flames rose from his body and fiercely burned his body. "Let's go. Let's go." Ming Long is a group of mad dogs. It's very troublesome. The two figures whistled and hurriedly left the crime scene. Roar! A moment later, a world-shaking roar came from the direction of the Ming Long cave. Roar! 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 When this deafening roar was heard, every black skeleton in the entire mystic realm who heard it raised their heads and roared in unison. Do you know how powerful they are now? If you provoke one, you'll provoke a group. Ming Long is not only strong, but they're also naturally united. If you provoke them, unless you kill all the Ming Long, there'll be endless trouble. Xiao Hao glanced at Little Stone and shook his head. This kind of guy can't be provoked. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. Little Stone wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. If I was chased by a group of mad dogs, then I wouldn't be able to do anything. The center of the 100 Break mountain range is where a group of godly apes gather. There are many treasures. The secret realm is about to close. Let's hurry over and earn the last bit. The two leaped up and flew towards the center of the 100 Break mountain range. Chapter 617. Rumble. At the center of the secret realm, loud noises could be heard. The light of the treasure arts whistled as huge figures leaped about. Hornless dragon, 5-colored peacock, golden-winged roc, flaming bull, and some other figures that couldn't be seen clearly. At the center of the 100 Break mountain range, a group of Beast King realm beasts were fighting fiercely. Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth shook and the mountains shook. Divine splendor filled the sky as boundless treasures flickered, illuminating the entire sky in a dazzling and brilliant manner. Good heavens! These Beast Kings are fighting so fiercely? What kind of treasure is at the center of the 100 Break mountain range? Is it worth fighting over? Seeing the power in front of them, Xiaohao and Little Stone were shocked. With their strength, even if they had divine artifacts to protect them, they could only run for their lives at most. There was no room for them to interfere. The Beast King realm was the noble realm. It was only one level lower than the venerable realm. The cultivation of the mortal realm was divided into 6 levels: blood shift, grotto heaven, spirit transformation, inscription, formation, and venerable realm. The Beast King realm was the formation realm. With Xiaohao and Little Stone's current cultivation, they were only at the peak of the grotto heaven realm. Compared to the noble realm of the formation realm, they were too far away. This gap wasn't something that could be made up for by techniques and divine artifacts. Be careful. Don't expose yourself so easily, Xiaohao said to Little Stone. He took out 2 treasure bones and gave one to Little Stone. This is the Void Beast treasure bone we obtained when we broke through the runic passage in the Void God realm. I refined it again. What does this thing do? Little Stone took the treasure bone and asked Xiaohao. Stealth in the void. By activating this treasure bone, he could hide himself in a void. As long as you don't attack, you won't break through the void. No one below the venerable realm can discover us. Qi, blood, and origin energy poured into the treasure bone. With a flash of light, Xiaohao's figure disappeared. Huh, so fun. Little Stone laughed heartily. He also activated his rune precious bone, and his entire person disappeared into the void. After concealing their tracks, Xiaohao and Little Shirtu couldn't see each other. The 2 brats were going to cause trouble again. I have 2 divine artifacts and the treasure bone that can hide me. Even if something happens, we can always run away. Xiaohao glanced in the direction where Little Shirtu had disappeared and smiled. With Little Shitta's intelligence, it's good enough that he doesn't harm others. There's no need to worry about him. Along the way, Xiaohao was hidden in the void, but he was still able to sense what was happening in the outside world through the void perception on the treasure bone. Deep in the center of the secret realm, a huge valley appeared before Xiaohao's eyes. High mountains, dense forests, and deep valleys. Just as they arrived at the outskirts of the valley, they saw an incomparably intense battle situation. Is that a monkey? In Xiaohao's eyes, there was a group of giant apes that were over 3 meters tall. Under the leadership of a giant golden ape, they were like an army that swept through all the existences that had invaded the valley. The hornless dragon, the fire bull, the peacock, and the great pump, the 4 Beast King realm ferocious beasts, each led a group of subordinates to fight against the apes. Soldier against soldier, general against general. The 4 Beast Kings surrounded the giant golden ape and fought fiercely. This giant golden ape was extremely powerful. It wielded a giant club in its hand and fought against the 4 Beast Kings alone. It even had the upper hand and looked like it was suppressing the 4 Beast Kings. The Beast Kings wanted to rush into the valley, but the monkey was blocking them and they were unable to break through. Even the Beast Kings want to fight over something. It can be seen that the treasures in the valley must be extraordinary. Xiaohao avoided the battlefield and quietly slipped into the valley. This is too shocking. Seeing the scene in the valley, Xiaohao fiercely sucked in a breath of cold air. In front of him was a pure land, as if it was the kingdom of the gods. Immortal clouds lingered and the clouds rose. In the center of the valley, there was a small lake. The lake wasn't big, but the lake water was crystal clear and dazzling, revealing a boundless spirit energy. That's a spirit lake. The spirit energy has turned into liquid and gathered into a lake. Too shocking. There's actually such a treasure land? Xiaohao opened his mouth wide and couldn't close it for a long time. This kind of spirit energy turning into liquid and essence like water, gathering into a lake. Even the demonic spirit lake couldn't compare to it. There must be treasures in such a divine land. Seeing the scene in front of him, Xiaohao's footsteps became a bit faster. He sped all the way and rushed into the valley. Along the way, there were huge rocks, beautiful trees, and spirit herbs. Light overflowed everywhere, as if it was a pure land of the gods. However, seeing the spirit energy turning into a lake in front of him. The roadside was already insignificant. Oh my God, is that the treasure that the Beast Kings are fighting over? After passing through the forest and jumping out from behind a huge rock, the scene by the lake appeared in front of Xiaohao's eyes. There were 4 resplendent treasure trees. The 4 treasured trees weren't tall, only half the height of a person. They were completely silver, as if they were made of pure silver. Brilliant light lingered, and the 4 treasured trees shone with divine light, as if they were burning with brilliant silver flames. On each tree, there were 3 silver peaches. They were sparkling and translucent, as if they were carved from divine jade. Immortal peach sage medicine. There are actually 4 stalks of sage medicine. Xiaohao's eyes lit up, and his heart thumped. No wonder the Beast Kings are fighting over it. With such treasures placed here, it would be unforgivable if they didn't fight over it. Sage medicine was the most precious medicine in the 8 desolations. A stalk of sage medicine not only had endless vitality, but could also greatly increase one's cultivation and break through bottlenecks. It was a divine treasure that cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. The spiritual lake and the immortal peach sage medicine have to be brought home. Xiaohao tightly clenched his fists and rushed down the cliff, flying towards the spiritual lake. Near the spiritual lake, next to a huge tree stump, Xiaohao's footsteps paused, and he turned his head to look at the tree stump in surprise. Inside here, he reached out and gently knocked on the tree stump, and he heard a hollow duck-duck sound coming from inside. Vaguely, there seemed to be the sound of liquid rippling. Could it be the monkey wine? Xiaohao was overjoyed. The monkey wine was also a rare treasure. After circling around the tree stump, Xiaohao found a blocked hole in the tree stump. He stretched out his hand and pulled out the huge wooden cork that blocked the hole. A wave of extremely alluring wine fragrance mixed with extremely abundant spirit energy assailed his nostrils, causing him to feel intoxicated. It really is the monkey wine. Good stuff. Really good stuff. With a wave of his hand, an invisible wave swept across, and the wine cellar was immediately emptied. There must be more than one wine cellar like this. He looked up and scanned the surroundings. As expected, there were a total of 6 wine cellars around the spiritual lake. I'll gladly accept such a good wine. Xiaohao's figure dashed out, circled around the spiritual lake, and swept the 6 wine cellars clean. All that's left is the spiritual lake and the immortal peach sage medicine. Xiaohao silently snuck to the side of the spiritual lake. He raised his eyes to look at the 4 immortal peaches growing at the side, then looked at the Beast Kings who were fighting fiercely. A trace of a smile appeared at the corner of Xiaohao's mouth. You're fighting like this because of the immortal peach sage medicine. Therefore, the root of the disaster is the immortal peach sage medicine, which is the spiritual lake. I can't bear to see you fight, so I'll help you get rid of this disaster. No need to thank me. Xiaohao laughed, and a mischievous thought appeared in his mind. He took out a long knife and carved the words "just now" on the rock beside the lake. After the prank, Xiaohao walked to the lakeside and waved his hand. An invisible wave swept across, and an incomparably powerful suction force was generated. In an instant, the spiritual lake dried up, and the immortal peach sage medicine disappeared. Roar! At the moment when the change occurred, the giant golden ape seemed to have sensed something. It turned its head to look at the empty valley, and suddenly let out an extremely sorrowful and angry roar. The things are gone. What's the point of fighting? The golden monkey shouted at the 4 beast kings and rode on a golden light, hurriedly rushing into the valley. The things are gone? The 4 beast kings looked at each other, and in shock and anger, they followed the monkey into the valley. At this moment, the spiritual lake in the valley had dried up, and the immortal peach sage medicine had disappeared without a trace. What was even more infuriating was that on the rock near the immortal peach sage medicine, there was an extremely infuriating sentence. Roar! Including the monkey, the 5 beast kings looked up to the sky and roared with inexplicable grief and anger. Who is it? Who dares to make fun of us like this? It must be those outsiders. Kill them. Kill them all. Block the exit. Don't let any of them escape. The 5 Beast Kings were enraged, and their murderous aura enveloped the entire secret territory. Chapter 6:18. Seems like it's getting a bit out of hand. Seeing the reactions of the Beast Kings, Xiao Hao curled his lips. Even if everyone else dies, it has nothing to do with me. However, since you guys are so arrogant, then I can't stand it. After a few thoughts, Xiao Hao suddenly had an idea. In the ruins, I also obtained quite a few divine weapons. These divine weapons were all made with true spirit beasts as materials. It's just right to use them now. Xiao Hao's figure flashed, and he instantly dashed to a corner of the valley, starting his plan of framing others. In the valley, the 5 Beast Kings were furious, and they were gathering their subordinates, planning to sweep the entire secret realm in one go. We'll each be in charge of an area. We must thoroughly sweep these outsiders and find the divine medicine. The 5-colored peacock's feathers stood up, and a 5-colored brilliance circulated around its body. It was furious. Even so, however, the ownership of the divine medicine needs to be discussed. The golden-winged roc continued. If the divine medicine is found, how will it be distributed? It can't be that whoever finds it will have it, right? I agree. The 4 divine medicines will be shared by our 5 clans. The golden-furred ape patted its chest and nodded with a face full of anger. That's good too. The hornless dragon and fire bull also nodded in agreement. Thus, the 5 Beast Kings united, and the 5 clans' operation to sweep the secret realm was about to begin. If there were no unforeseen events in the entire 100 Break Mountain secret realm, unless they had special treasures to hide their bodies, everyone would die here. Unforeseen events were bound to happen. Whoosh! At this time, in a remote corner of the spiritual lake valley, a faint sound of something breaking through the air rang out. A figure flashed and disappeared, as if it was escaping the valley at an extremely fast speed. At this crucial moment, any movement in the valley naturally couldn't be hidden from the 5 furious Beast Kings. Under the shocked and angry gazes of the 5 Beast Kings, the figure that flashed and disappeared faintly appeared in the hand of a silvery, immortal peach. What was even more shocking was that the figure that flashed and disappeared actually faintly revealed a 5-colored brilliance, as if it was a peacock feather. Old Peacock, so it's you. The golden-furred ape let out a furious roar, raised its stick, and smashed it down at the 5-colored peacock. The 5-colored peacock was confused as it hurriedly dodged the monkey's attack. However, it was a little bewildered. Could it be that it was really a disciple of my clan who snuck into the spiritual lake valley and stole the sacred medicine? Monkey, are you crazy? Someone must be framing him. Even if he was bewildered, he would never admit to such a thing even if it was true. Old Peacock quickly retorted. The peacock race has the 5 elements breath concealing technique. It's not impossible for them to sneak into the valley. I'm afraid it might really be old Peacock who did it. On the surface, he contacted us to deal with the monkey together, but he secretly sent people to steal the sacred medicine. Good move indeed. At this time, the other 3 Beast Kings also understood. Old Peacock was too sinister, too vicious. He had actually used such a method of deceiving the heavens and swapping the earth, still keeping us in the dark. Do you think we're fools? How preposterous! Old Peacock, you're dead. The hornless dragon soared into the sky and brandished its claws. The great roc spread its wings and broke through the sky, and the flaming bull roared and soared into the sky with raging flames. Kill it. Flatten the 5-colored plains. The 4 sacred medicine will be divided equally between our 4 races. The giant golden ape declared on the spot, pulling the other 3 Beast Kings into an alliance to suppress the 5-colored peacock. Preposterous. Do you think my peacock race is easy to bully? Children kill. Old Peacock could not explain clearly, nor could he clear himself of suspicion. He could only bite the bullet and fight. A great battle began. The 5 beast kings led their subordinates and fought until the mountains collapsed and the earth split. Blood flowed like a river. Of course, this had nothing to do with Xiao Hao. You guys play slowly, smiling and waving his hand. Xiao Hao's figure flashed and left the spiritual lake valley. At this time, where did Tai Hao go? After using the Void Treasure Bone to use Void Stealth, Xiao Hao did not know where Little Stone was. He did not know what he was doing. The 100 Broken Mountains secret realm is about to end. No matter what he's doing, he'll definitely rush to the secret realm's exit. Little Stone had 2 divine weapons and the Void Treasure Bone. Even if he could not win, he could always run away. Thus, Xiao Hao did not pay attention to Little Stone's actions. Moving stealthily, he left the spiritual lake valley far away. Only then did Xiao Hao find an empty corner and reveal himself. Unfolding the wings of Ying Zhao and waving the white tiger's fang, he did not hesitate to kill the rampaging vicious beasts. Without any beast kings present, with Xiao Hao's strength and the 2 divine weapons, he ran amok without fear. He was invincible and killed his way to an illustrious reputation. Many thanks for young Master Xiao Hao's help. I can't repay this great kindness. I can't thank you enough. I didn't think that there would be such a hero among the human race. I admire you. Along the way, Xiao Hao did not care who he saved. In any case, whenever he saw a vicious beast causing trouble, he would slash it with his blade. Like this, Xiao Hao saved many people. Regardless of whether they were human or foreign, they all gave a helping hand. Xiao Hao had inadvertently made a name for himself. Among the young heroes of the various races, he had quite a bit of prestige. Once his name was announced, followers would gather. In just a few days, Xiao Hao had gathered an army by his side. The young heroes of the various races gathered under Xiao Hao's command and fought with him. They wiped out the vicious beasts along the way and eradicated the disasters. The more they fought, the more people they saved. The more people they gathered, the more powerful they became. Kill. Along the way, this group of youths actually had an imposing aura. They were like an iron-blooded army that had experienced many battles. Their murderous aura was monstrous, and they were invincible. After 7 days of fighting, they actually had the momentum to counterattack in the vicious beast tide. Ha ha! Awesome! After a great battle, although the youths were covered in blood, their morale was high and their fighting spirit was strong. I've caused such a big commotion, but Little Stone still hasn't come to meet me? What's he trying to do? Stepping on a giant beast, Xiao Hao stood upright with his blade. He raised his head and glanced in the direction of the spiritual lake valley, frowning slightly. Today is the day the secret realm opens. Little Stone, why aren't you here yet? Xiao Hao shook his head helplessly, withdrew his gaze, and turned to leave. Roar, Ao Mu, roar! For huge beastly roars rose into the sky. Among the monstrous ferocity, there was an indescribable anger and indignation. Preposterous! Preposterous! Block the exit! Kill all the outsiders! The 4 beast kings roared furiously. They led their subordinates and swept over like a raging tide. This is what happened. Xiao Hao was shocked and suddenly thought of a possibility. Could it be these beast kings' rage is related to Little Stone? What did he do? Chapter 619. Xiao Hao, I'm back. The air swayed slightly, and Little Stone appeared beside Xiao Hao. He shook the small pagoda in his hair at Xiao Hao and smiled mysteriously. I've struck gold this time. I knew it. Xiao Hao shook his head helplessly. You want to cause trouble again. Look at how angry they are. He looked into the distance and saw the 4 beast kings leading a group of subordinates. They were emitting a murderous aura that swept over like a raging tide. Xiao Hao, the beast kings are attacking. How should we deal with them? The youths gathered around Xiao Hao turned pale when they saw the beast kings causing a ruckus, even though they had been invincible in successive battles. But, compared to the beast kings, these youths were completely insignificant. Retreat. Return to the exit of the mystic realm. Xiao Hao ordered. Everyone obeyed, and rushed to the exit of the mystic realm. Eh, Xiaohao, you become a general in just a few days? When little Shirtu saw this situation, he smiled and teased Xiaohao. Stop fooling around. Xiaohao pulled Little Stone over and asked in a low voice, The Beast Kings are going crazy. Tell me, what did you do? Hee hee. Little Shirtu laughed dryly and whispered to Xiaohao, I didn't do anything big. I just emptied the nest of a few Beast Kings, caught a few calves, and collected some eggs. I didn't catch any monkeys. Don't we have monkeys at home? You're amazing. Xiaohao's mouth twitched. It was no wonder that the Beast Kings were going crazy. All the treasures in their nests had been swept clean. Even the calves had been captured. It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. I didn't expect my pagoda to be a spatial item. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to get back all the loot. Little Stone shook the bone pagoda and sighed in satisfaction. This is an immortal artifact. An immortal artifact. They could vaguely hear the bone pagoda's sighs. Xiaohao and Little Stone rushed to the exit of the mystic realm with a group of youths. However, there were still 2 hours before the exit of the secret realm would open, and the army of Beast Kings would arrive in a moment. Once the army of Beast Kings arrived, they would not be able to resist. They would not be able to hold on until the exit of the secret realm opened. Xiaohao, what should we do? The group of youths looked at Xiaohao eagerly, hoping that this person who had led them to an invincible battle record could continue to create miracles. Guard this place and wait for the secret realm to open. The expression on Xiaohao's face was calm. It seemed as if he didn't care about the arrival of the 4 Beast Kings. Senior brothers, I've already sent a message to Imperial Father. He's on his way. But Huolinger glanced at Xiaohao and Little Shirtu. She didn't finish her sentence. However, everyone understood what she meant. I'm afraid we won't be able to wait until the Fire Nation's human emperor arrives. Boom. There was a rumbling sound in the air. The exit of the secret territory burst out with an endless amount of light. Runes flashed as the exit of the secret territory slowly opened. However, this process was very slow. Without 2 hours, it would be impossible to open it completely. The 100 Shattering Mountains secret territory restricted all existences above the Grotto Heaven realm from entering. If the secret territory's exit opened, the human emperor or other supremacies would be able to interfere even if they couldn't enter the secret territory. However, the secret territory's exit hadn't opened yet. Even if Tai Hao and Xiao Hao had 2 supremacies as mounts outside, they couldn't do anything. Roar! An earth-shattering roar sounded. The 4 Beast Kings brought the ferocious beasts that covered the mountains and plains as they swept over like a raging tide. Outsiders, all of you must die. A huge golden ape held a large club in its hand. With a swing of its club, it flattened a large mountain in front of it. As rocks and dust flew everywhere, its huge body leaped up and landed in front of the secret territory's exit. Its monstrous aura made people tremble in fear. Boom! The fire bull, whose entire body was covered in raging flames, brought with it a monstrous flame that burned the earth. It swept up a river of lava as it rushed forward with a rumbling sound. Boom! The air shook as the wind and clouds surged. The golden-winged roc and the hornless dragon, 2 Beast Kings, broke through the air, stirring up the wind and clouds and shaking heaven and earth. Endless ferocious aura revealed the smell of blood that filled the sky. The 4 Beast Kings gathered and were surrounded by the ferocious beasts that covered the mountains and plains. The earth-shattering roar of the beasts and the incomparably violent, ferocious aura made people tremble in fear. Outsiders. The giant golden ape held a large club and pointed at the people at the exit of the secret territory. None of you can escape. All of you must die. Roar. As if responding to the giant golden ape's declaration, the ferocious beasts that covered the mountains and plains roared at the sky in unison. The earth-shattering roars echoed through the mountains and stirred up the wind and clouds. The monstrous, ferocious aura was unstoppable. What should we do? What should we do? The Beast Kings attacked, and the beasts surrounded them. Under such tremendous pressure, the people gathered at the exit of the secret territory were pale and frightened. Why are you shouting so loudly? Little Stone snorted and frowned. He turned his head and glanced at Xiaohao. Xiaohao, these guys are too noisy. Should we kill them? Hearing Little Stone's words, the four majestic beast kings were instantly enraged. You're courting death. The giant golden ape flew into a rage. He raised his club and smashed it at Little Stone. Boom! The huge club broke through the air and produced an earth-shattering sound. Under the power of this club, the heavens and earth shook, the mountains shook, and the forests collapsed. It was as if the entire world was about to be smashed into pieces by this club. The Beast King realm was extremely terrifying. No one thought that Little Shirtu would be able to survive this blow, except Xiaohao and Little Stone himself. Compared to my monkey, you're far inferior. Little Stone shook his head. Facing the huge club that was smashing down on his head, he casually waved his palm. Vaguely, a white light appeared in this palm. It seemed to be a small pagoda. Boom! Endless light exploded in the air, like a scorching sun exploding in the sky. The dazzling light was blinding. Under this light, the huge club that could destroy the heavens and earth disappeared. The ferocious golden-haired monkey also disappeared. It was like a snowflake under the scorching sun. In an instant, the Beast King realm golden-furred giant ape disappeared without a trace. What? What's going on? The golden-haired monkey disappeared in an instant, leaving the other three Beast Kings dumbfounded. This. Everyone at the entrance of the secret realm was so shocked that their mouths were wide open. They couldn't close them for a long time. They only felt that this scene was like a dream. Since you've made your move, then don't let a single one of you go. Xiaohao smiled, pulled out his long saber, and slashed out with it. Clang! A shrill sword cry shook the heavens and the earth. Sharp! The sharpest sword in the world. The shadow of a blade of grass appeared, and a sword light pierced through the heavens and the earth. It could shatter all things and destroy the universe. It was indestructible and unstoppable. The sharpest sword between the heavens and the earth was displayed here. The wind was cut off. The clouds were cut off. The mountains were cut off. The earth was cut off. It was cut in half. The great Pung was bathed in blood. The hornless dragon was beheaded, and the flaming bull was nursing a grievance. The herds of beasts that covered the mountains were swept clean and destroyed with one slash. In front of the entrance of the secret realm, within 1,000 miles, even the earth was flattened. The vast mountains turned into a wasteland full of gravel and sand. This is too terrifying, right? At the entrance of the secret realm, everyone was stunned. They were scared silly. Chapter 620. Xiaohao, what's this move of yours? It's so powerful. With a slash of the blade, it flattened everything within 1,000 miles. Even Little Stone was shocked by this power, and he hurriedly asked Xiaohao about it. It's a strand of sword chi that the Grand Ancestor placed in the palace. Since there were outsiders present, Xiaohao couldn't go into too much detail and only gave a general description. This strand of sword chi was naturally the one recorded in the Book of the Grass Symbol Sword Technique. At that time, Liu had taken out this strand of sword chi and threw it into Xiaohao's Supreme Palace as a trump card for Xiaohao to protect himself. Just as the four Beast Kings attacked, Liu released this strand of sword chi. Even if Xiaohao only used a little bit of the sword chi of the Grand Ancestor realm, it still exploded with terrifying power. So, it's something left behind by the Grand Ancestor. No wonder. Little Stone suddenly understood. Since it was something left behind by the Grand Ancestor, it wouldn't be strange at all even if it pierced a hole in the sky. Taihao Xiaohao, thank you. I don't dare to forget the kindness of saving my life. At this time, the people near the entrance of the secret realm also came back to their senses, and they all cupped their fists towards Xiaohao and Little Stone, extremely grateful. Actually, being grateful was secondary. After all, there were many ungrateful people in this world. No matter how great the kindness was, they might forget it after turning around. However, the strength that the two of them had just displayed, How terrifying would that be? They had saved their lives, and they were so powerful that they could scare people to death. In this kind of situation, even the most ungrateful people had no choice but to be grateful. Rumble. After waiting for a while, the entrance of the 100 Break Mountain's secret realm finally opened. Countless runes condensed, forming a huge door. The scene of the outside world was already displayed on the screen of light. The exit is already opened. Let's go out. Everyone leaped into the air and charged toward the door that had materialized in the air. Outside the 100 Break Mountain, in Broken Sky City, the door to the secret realm has opened. The trip to the 100 Break Mountain has already ended. This time, I wonder which prodigies will rise up and which prodigies will fall. Outside the secret realm, in Broken Sky City, people from various races and forces were eagerly waiting, looking at the entrance of the secret realm with concern. They're here. Here it comes. Someone is coming out. Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, one figure after another rushed out of the light screen. The geniuses of various clans that had entered the 100 Mountains secret realm all flew out from the secret realm's exit. Then what are they doing? The onlookers in Broken Sky City were surprised to find that the prodigies of the various clans who had rushed out of the mystic realm did not leave immediately. Instead, they lined up neatly in 2 rows. They seemed to be welcoming someone. It was as if they were lining the streets to welcome and await the arrival of some big shot. What's going on? Look, even pure-blooded true spirits like the Bai Fong and Zhu Jian are here. There's also the Fire Nation princess. Even the chosen from the various god mountains and holy lands were lined up. Who's coming? The onlookers were bewildered. They had no idea what was going on. At this time, 2 figures stepped out of the light screen. They were 2 children who were about 8 years old. When the 2 of them walked out of the light screen, everyone lined up outside the secret realm's exit, cupped their fists, and bowed. Tai Hao, Xiao Hao, what did they do? How did they make these proud and arrogant prodigies submit so willingly? Seeing this scene, the countless onlookers in Broken Sky City were bewildered. Everyone, why do you have to do this? Xiao Hao and Little Rock walked out of the light screen. When they saw the scene in front of them, they were slightly stunned. We can't repay your kindness in saving our lives. We can only show our respect. Everyone replied in unison. We brothers don't dare to accept everyone's hospitality. Xiao Hao smiled modestly and cupped his fists to the crowd. We accept your kindness. We accept your kindness. After walking out of the crowd, the 2 of them summoned Qiong Qi and the sky-devouring sparrow. They rode on their mounts and flew away, disappearing into the horizon. What? Tai Hao killed the Golden Ape Beast King with 1 strike. Xiao Hao killed 3 Beast Kings with 1 strike and swept through 1,000 miles? They're actually so powerful. At this moment, everyone heard about the situation in the 100 Mountain's secret realm and was instantly shocked. How old is he? How can he have such power and influence at such a young age? In the future, how powerful will they be? Even the legendary young sovereigns are only at this level, right? At this moment, Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's names were even more powerful, and they were even more untouchable. Xiao Hao, I think you shouldn't use that sword chi in the future. Sitting on the sky-devouring sparrow's back, Little Rock touched the small pagoda on his hair and turned to look at Xiao Hao. My small pagoda is the same. If we keep using it, it'll be detrimental to our future growth. I know. Xiao Hao nodded. After using the sword chi this time, it'll be sealed in the ancestral hall again. In the future, unless it's a matter of life and death, try not to use these external items. That's true. Qiong Qi also said, the 2 young masters have boundless prospects. Don't delay your own cultivation because of external items. Thank you for the reminder. We understand. Xiao Hao nodded with a smile. They flew all the way as fast as lightning. A distance of 1,000,000 miles was nothing in front of 2 pure-blooded venerable realm true spirits. Not long after, the rippling demonic spirit lake appeared in front of them. We're back. Landing on the square beside the demonic spirit lake, Little Rock opened his arms and shouted, This time, we're rich again. You're back. Good. Good. The old village chief greeted them with a smile. After carefully examining the two for a while, he let out a sigh of relief when he found that there were no injuries. This time we got a lot of good things. Many treasures. Everyone has a share. Little Rock danced with joy as he grabbed the small pagoda. With a wave of his hand, a large pile of treasures scattered out. There were all kinds of godly materials and precious medicines. Great pung feathers, firebull horns, peacock feathers, hornless dragon scales, a pile of great pung and peacock eggs, hornless dragon eggs, and even a few small fireballs that were more than 3 meters long. The godly materials and precious medicines were piled up into a large pile, shining brilliantly. Moo moo. The few small fireballs were all newborn calves. They didn't have complete intelligence and didn't understand the situation. They all stretched out their necks and cried out, jumping around happily. As expected, it's a big harvest. The old village chief patted Little Rock's head and nodded in praise. Little guy, you did well. Let's put these things away first. Xiao Hao shook his head helplessly. Little Rock had taken out all the things. Should he move them back into the house one by one? With a wave of his hand, Xiao Hao put away the things that Little Rock had taken out. Grandpa Village Chief, our harvest this time is not small. Our village can start construction again. Thinking of the 100 herb garden that he had carried back, as well as the monkey's spirit lake and sacred medicine, Xiao Hao planned to start construction again. Today, his daughter was performing on stage for the first time. As a father, he had to be present. He also had to encourage her. Therefore, I can only finish writing today's chapter and send it here. I don't have time to write today. Chapter 6:21. This is the 100 Her Garden. Xiao Hao took out a small potted plant and placed it behind Stone Village, at the foot of the demonic spirit lake's divine mountain. 100 Her Garden opened. He waved his hand and released a ray of spiritual light, activating the manor guarding divine stone formation. Boom! With a loud rumble, a vast medicinal garden appeared. Spiritual energy was vast and mighty, and the essence of plants surged like a tide. Especially at the center of the 100 Herb Garden, where the immortal divine spring was, the vast divine light was like a brilliant rainbow that shot into the sky. The sky was filled with light, as if it was a holy land. So many precious medicines. This is great. The clan's ancient recipe can be used to make all the precious medicines. The old chief looked at the scene in the 100 Herb Garden and laughed happily. The immortal divine spring is indeed extraordinary. As the green light flickered, Willow Deity's figure stepped out and arrived in front of the immortal divine spring. Seeing the vast and mighty divine light in the spring, Willow Deity smiled and nodded. The immortal divine spring, the foundation refined from the divine striking stone's body. Not bad. This garden still has some redeeming qualities. Speaking up to here, Willow Deity glanced at little Shurtu and smiled. The 2 items on your body are also not ordinary. Being glanced at by Willow Deity, the divine striking stone and Lil Pagoda seemed to tremble slightly. And they're still a bit useful. Little Shurtu turned his head and looked at the divine striking stone and Lil Pagoda wrapped around his hair, then smiled and nodded. The divine striking stone and Lil Pagoda were speechless for a long time. We are all divine treasures. Only a bastard rich person like you wouldn't treat bean buns as dry food, right? We also obtained 4 immortal peaches of immortality. Xiao Hao took out 4 small trees that were shining with silver light and asked Willow Deity, Willow Deity, there shouldn't be a problem if I plant the immortal peaches of immortality next to the immortal divine spring, right? These 4 immortal peaches of immortality can't be considered immortal peaches of immortality. Willow Deity glanced at the immortal peaches of immortality in Xiao Hao's hand and nodded. Planting them here naturally only has benefits. These 4 immortal peaches of immortality are only a step away from becoming immortal peaches of immortality. After a few hundred or 1,000 years, it's not impossible for them to become immortality. Then plant it here. Xiao Hao and Little Shirtu each took 2 immortal peaches and planted them near the immortal divine spring. Buzz! The 4 immortal peaches were planted, and under the nourishment of the immortal divine spring, their branches and leaves immediately swayed about, erupting with radiance that filled the sky. The translucent immortal peaches were emitting an endless fragrance. Peaches, are they edible? Shi Dazhuang and the others craned their necks and looked at the immortal peaches hanging on the immortal peach tree with sparkling eyes. They were drooling. Bastard, that's a holy herb, not a peach. The old chief glared at them, scaring the group of devilish brats into retreating in panic. Other than the 100 Her Garden, we also collected many good things. After leading everyone out of the 100 Her Garden, Xiao Hao went to the crafting pavilion and released all the countless divine weapons that he had captured in the ruins. The light of treasures was vast and mighty. It was as if a scorching sun had broken through the sky and shone brightly. Wow, so many treasures? There were more than 1,000 divine weapons in front of him. Each and every one of them shone brilliantly and erupted with endless divine power. I have stored all these divine weapons in the crafting pavilion. You can choose any divine weapon that you want. He waved his hand, and an invisible wave swept across the crafting pavilion. The divine weapons retracted their radiance and floated in the air. Wings, I want wings. Shi Dazhuang saw that among the divine weapons floating in the air, there were dozens of wing-shaped divine weapons. He immediately shouted and rushed out, grabbing a pair of golden-winged rock wings. I have refined all these things again. You can use them as long as you refine them with your own qi. Xiao Hao explained to everyone and walked out of the crafting pavilion. Little Shirtu brought back a few eggs. I still have to deal with them. He walked to the willow deity's main body and saw the 3 green rocks dozing under the willow tree. Xiao Hao smiled. Then I'll give you a group of little friends. He waved his hand and placed the 3 roc's eggs and 2 peacock's eggs under the willow deity's main body. Willow deity, please take care of these eggs. After being placed under the willow deity's feet, these eggs would be nourished by life force and would hatch soon. In the future, Stone Village would have a few more pure-blooded true spirits. I'll leave the fire bull and black python cubs in the village to be raised. He released the fire bull and black python cubs. The fire bull was locked in the cow pen, and the black python was placed in the kennel. They would be raised like this for the time being. The black python and the fire bull were not pure-blooded. In the future, they would only be livestock. The hornless dragon eggs are a bit difficult to deal with. Xiao Hao looked at the lake outside the village. Although the demonic spirit lake has extraordinary spiritual energy, it is still not enough to hatch the hornless dragon eggs. Therefore, I'll just pour the spiritual lake water collected from the Monkey Valley into the demonic spirit lake. He walked to the lakeside and waved his hand. A vast spiritual light soared into the sky. The lake water condensed from spirit chi was like an immortal rainbow as it poured into the demonic spirit lake. Splash! In the entire lake, countless dragon-whiskered fish jumped up happily, stirring up countless splashes of water. After the spiritual lake water poured in, the entire lake was filled with colorful clouds. It was as if the sky was filled with swirling celestial clouds as spiritual light shot out in all directions. This looks a bit like a spiritual lake. Xiao Hao nodded in satisfaction and placed the 3 hornless dragon eggs at the bottom of the demonic spirit lake. Under the nourishment of this spiritual energy, the hornless dragon would soon break out of its shell. I'll store the rest of the godly materials and precious medicines for the time being. I'll use them when I need them. After taking care of this, Xiao Hao remembered that he had promised Butian Pavilion to give them a portion of the immortal divine spring. Butian Pavilion wants to use the immortal divine spring to save the guardian spirit. Unfortunately, the immortal divine spring can't truly make it immortal. It doesn't have much use in this kind of situation where one's lifespan is exhausted. A guardian spirit of the deity realm was about to fall. Xiao Hao sighed. Without becoming an immortal, even a supreme being will die. However, becoming an immortal is extremely difficult. The current Xiaohao was no longer a cultivation rookie. He had a clear understanding of the path of cultivation. Mortal realm, deity realm, immortal realm. Right now, Xiaohao's cultivation had just started. It was still too early to talk about becoming an immortal. Working hard to increase his cultivation was the key. Qiangqi, take a trip to Butian Pavilion for me. Xiaohao took out a portion of the immortal divine spring from the 100 garden. He sealed it in a jade bottle and gave it to Qiangqi. After you arrive at Butian Pavilion, give this jade bottle to Butian Pavilion Master. Yes. Qiangqi took the jade bottle and soared into the sky, rushing towards Butian Pavilion. Right now, I have reached the peak of the heavenly passage realm. It's time to break through and reach the spirit transformation realm. He walked into the 100 garden and waved his hand, taking out a portion of the immortal divine spring from the divine spring. The immortal divine spring was like molten gold. It emitted endless radiance and contained boundless vitality. Refining this immortal divine spring is enough for me to reach the spirit transformation realm. He opened his mouth and swallowed the immortal divine spring into his stomach. Boundless vitality erupted, causing the blood in his body to surge like a raging tide. Break through the barrier and reach the spirit transformation realm. 10 heavenly passages appeared around him. Boundless energy poured into the heavenly passages. Precious technique, runes condensed within the heavenly passages. Rumble. The 10 heavenly passages rumbled at the same time. At this moment, all the true spirit precious techniques that Xiaohao cultivated revealed their true forms within the heavenly passages. Taotai Ba Xia, Azure Sky Peng, Heaven Swallowing Sparrow, Qiangqi, Golden Crow, Qilin, Zhuyan, and Golden Spider. 9 precious techniques were born within the 9 heavenly passages. Techniques with origin spirits. Precious technique, spirit transformation. This was the spirit transformation realm. Chapter 622. Xiaohao has already transformed into a spirit. Liu had been studying the true primordial record, analyzing all sorts of heavenly arts and treasured arts, and comprehending the laws of heaven and earth when he heard the system notification. Only then did he realize that Xiaohao had reached the spirit transformation realm. Cultivation is truly timeless. He'd been analyzing the laws of heaven and earth in the Sovereign Hall. Before he knew it, 5 years had passed since he'd arrived in this world. I have to speed up. Based on my original progress, Huang Celestial Emperor will need several 100,000 years to reach the immortal emperor level. I don't have that much time to waste here. If he wanted to fully analyze the laws of heaven and earth, the best time would be when Huang Celestial Emperor ascended. However, Liu couldn't wait until then. I have to reach the immortal emperor level myself. I've been cooped up here for too long. It's about time I went out for a walk. Liu stood up and walked out of the Sovereign Hall. He called out to Baxia. Baxia, take me to the North Sea. Understood, Baxia replied. Yellow light surged around him as his enormous body shrank until he was only 300 meters tall. At the same time, the Sovereign Hall on his back shrank as well, turning into the shape of a carriage. Baxia cultivated the Baxia true technique. With his cultivation in the 9 heaven supreme realm, he was able to reach the peak of the human immortal martial path in no time. Baxia now had the ability to rebirth from a drop of blood and take on all sorts of forms. Let's go. The North Sea. There's still some things left behind by my old friends. Liu sat down in the carriage on Baxia's back and called out for him to set off. Baxia activated his earth control ability and traveled through the earth to the North Sea. He traveled soundlessly through the earth. With his abilities, it only took him a moment to reach the North Sea, even though it was millions of kilometers away. Rumble, rumble. In front of him was a vast and boundless ocean. Monstrous waves surged violently, and the waves were monstrous. This is the North Sea. Liu nodded and pointed in a direction. Let's go. That way. Apart from the power of the earth, Basya also possessed the natural ability to control water. Basya activated its water-controlling technique and traveled across the North Sea, treading on the waves. There were more ferocious beasts in the sea than on land. These sea beasts were all huge and powerful. However, when Basya released a little bit of his aura, these sea beasts trembled in fear, not daring to move at all, overturning rivers and seas, galloping across the ocean. Dragon son Basya sped along and soon arrived at a sea shrouded in mist. A vast fog enveloped the entire sea region, making it impossible to see one's own fingers. There was an eerie chill in the fog. Sure enough, the item of an old friend is here. No matter how thick the fog was, it could not block Liyu's eyes. Within the fog, there was an ancient black ship that gave off a boundless gloominess. It was like a ghost silently gliding across the surface of the sea. Did you really leave this behind? Ruthless. Liu looked at the giant black ghost ship and sighed deeply. He waved his hand, and the giant ghost ship flew into the air. With a flash of black light, the giant ghost ship turned into a palm-sized paper boat and landed in Liyu's hand. I'm the only one left. A line of blood-red words was written on the black paper boat. There was a blood-red fingerprint at the end of the words. Even the fingerprint was clearly visible. It was as if an extremely sorrowful sigh came from the end of time and space. Vaguely, Liu seemed to see a white-clothed woman sitting by a river. Her face was expressionless, and her eyes were filled with endless pain. Her hands were constantly folding paper boats. Every time she folded a paper boat, the woman in white would bite the tip of her finger and write a sentence on the paper boat. I'm the only one left. Ruthless. Liu shuddered when he saw that figure. The woman who had looked down on the world, who would never give up and submit, actually had such a weak side. I'm the only one left. Could it be Liu's entire body turned cold, and a trace of uneasiness appeared in his heart? Ruthless released these paper boats from the river of time, so he must be sending a message. She was sending a message to someone in the past. Who did it pass to? For me? Or for Heavenly Emperor Huang? From a message from Ruthless, I'm the only one left. This meant, one day in the future, Emperor Wu Shi, Emperor Yi Fan, Zhou Yi, and the others would all be dead? Will the future of this world really fall into a dark calamity? Could it be that Heavenly Emperor Huang had cut through the ancient times, cut through time and space, and fought alone in the world above the heavens? Is there no way to stop this future from coming? Liu took a deep breath, feeling a sense of urgency in his heart. It seems that I really can't wait so leisurely anymore. We have to speed up. With a wave of his hand, he threw the paper boat back into the sea. Liu pointed to the front and said to Dragon Son Basya, straight ahead, continue forward. Yes, sir. Riding the waves, Dragon Son Basya unleashed his full speed and charged forward. With such a powerful momentum, the vast aura covered the sky and covered the earth, scaring the countless sea creatures in the North Sea out of their wits. They trembled in fear and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Not long after, a huge cliff broke out of the sea. Primal chaos filled the air, and the atmosphere was shocking. North Sea Kuan Peng nest. Let's let Xiaohao and Little Stone train in this place. The Kuan Peng was also one of the 10 ancient vicious beasts. The Kuan Peng's precious technique was incomparably powerful. However, to Liu, this level of precious technique no longer had much meaning. From the looks of it, the Kuan Peng's nest is about to open. We can let Xiaohao and the others leave now. With a flick of his finger, a message was sent to Xiaohao's supreme palace. Let Xiaohao and Little Stone come to the Kuan Peng's nest in the North Sea to search for the Kuan Peng's precious technique. What I'm looking for is not in the Kuan Peng's nest. Liu turned his head to look at the side of the Kuan Peng's nest. There was a small island there. This small island was Liu's target for coming to the North Sea. Go to that small island. After instructing Dragon Son Basya, Basya turned around and sped toward the small island. A moment later, they arrived at the small island. There was a hole on the small island, and a river flowed out of the hole. On this river, a black paper boat slowly floated out of the river. Vicious. Seeing this paper boat, Liu let out a long sigh. Ancestral Master, look, there's a piece of wood in that hole. It looks like the builder wood. At this moment, Dragon's son Basya, who had transformed into his human form, pointed at the hole and shouted in shock. The builder wood was also known as the world tree. It was one of the 5 elements of heaven and earth, and one of the foundations of the world. Such a peerless treasure was actually left in a hole just like that. This hole leads to another world. The power of space-time isolates it, and ordinary people can't enter. Therefore, even if someone discovers the world tree, they won't be able to take it out. Liu explained. He stretched out his hand and grabbed. His arm passed through the invisible barrier, as if it had passed through endless time and space, and grabbed the branch of the builder tree. Its life force hasn't been completely cut off yet. Take it back and let Tung Qing plant it. Maybe he can grow a world tree for me. With a wave of his hand, Liu put away the branch of builder wood. I'm going to make a trip inside. You can't go there. Just wait outside. Liu turned to Basya and instructed, then strode toward the cave that was isolated from the endless space. Vicious, what kind of message did you leave in there? What kind of message are you trying to tell the people in the past? What exactly is hidden here? Liu took a deep breath and stepped into the hole. Chapter 6:23. As soon as he stepped into the cave, a formless energy surged wildly. Chaotic and berserk space-time turbulence surged wildly, causing the distance that seemed like it could be crossed with a single step to seem like it was separated by countless spaces and countless times. No wonder no one has ever entered. Just stepping into this cave isn't something an ordinary person can do. Liu's figure transformed into an invisible and colorless crystal light. Like a drop of water, he silently seeped into the turbulence of time and space. In an instant, he took a step forward. Before him was a silent world. The golden river flowed slowly, but there was no sound. The entire world was shining with a faint golden radiance. The vast land, the mountains, and the trees all shone with a faint golden radiance. There was no sound at all. The entire world was silent, as if it was a land of slumber. Upon seeing this, Liu frowned slightly and fell into deep thought. For some reason, he felt that this place was somewhat familiar. Where is this? Liu took a step forward and stepped onto the riverbank. Beneath his feet was a green grassland. This grassland was green and filled with dense spiritual energy. Clouds and rosy clouds shone, giving off specks of golden light. It was divine and glorious. Yet everything before him seemed to be filled with life, divine and glorious. In truth, this world had long been extinct. The flowers, the trees, and the vitality of the land had all been wiped out. The reason why it was so tranquil and sacred was because Vicious had once folded paper boats here and dripped his blood into it. The aura that Vicious had left behind made this world seem divine and glorious. Why do I feel that this world is very familiar? As he strolled along the riverbank, all he saw was a deathly stillness. The entire world had been wiped out. As he stepped forward, he felt as if he had stepped through thousands of years, but at the same time, it also felt as if time had stopped. Space-time was in chaos, and the laws of heaven and earth were in chaos. Even with Liu's cultivation, he had no idea where to start investigating this world through the laws of heaven and earth. The further he walked, the stronger the sense of familiarity in Liu's heart. When he stepped out of this divine radiance, the scene before him caused his entire body to tremble. The sky was dark, and there was no longer any golden radiance. As far as he could see, the land was withered, and all life had been extinguished. This was a land of death. The entire world had been wiped out. However, Lee already knew where he was at this moment. The gap between the two worlds? Is this the gap between two worlds? This world was actually the gap between the two worlds where Emperor Wu Shi and the immortal Sky Emperor had fought for countless years. It was the world cauldron that Dizun had refined into the world cauldron and intended to refine the entire world in one fell swoop. This place is already extinct. Liu remembered that he had once slashed open the world cauldron with a single slash of his sword and split open this world. This was also the reason why he felt that it was familiar. It was because he could sense the aura he had left behind in this world. What happened in the future? Liu let out a long breath, feeling a little uneasy. Even the gap between the two worlds has become like this. Then what about the human world? Earth, Big Dipper, that world, does it still exist? Leaping up, Liu sped along the river. He wanted to see what was at the end of this world. Over there, he passed through the dead silence of the gap between the two worlds. At the end of the world, at the intersection of the gap between the two worlds and the human world, there, everything had come to a standstill. Time and space were still. Everything was still. Everything was still. It was as if someone had pressed the pause button. The entire world was frozen and still, forever frozen at this moment. In the still world, there were living creatures, cities, mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees. However, all of them have been frozen and motionless. This is still the gap between the two worlds. The power of this still world and time and space freezing comes from the human world. Liu's brows were tightly furrowed as he slowly stepped into this frozen world. Body and mind freezing, time and space flowing. Everything in this world is frozen. This power is actually from my body freezing technique. As Liu stepped into this frozen world and sensed the power that caused all things in the world to return to stillness, he suddenly discovered that this power was actually his fixed body technique. Even with my current strength, I can't freeze a world. What's going on here? This power, which could make everything come to a standstill, was a great divine ability of the natural law of order that Liu derived with the immobilized spell. This is definitely not for me. This was because Liu couldn't sense his own aura from this power. Instead, he could vaguely sense a mixed aura that seemed to come from several people. However, this aura was too weak and chaotic. Liu couldn't tell whose aura it came from. He continued to stroll through this still world. Since this power originated from Liu's body freezing technique, it was even less able to affect Liu's own movements. He didn't know how long or how far he had traveled. Time and space had stopped moving. There was no longer the flow of time in this world, and there were no changes in space. On a cliff, Liu stopped and looked up at the distant horizon. When he saw that ripple, that law that pierced through time and space and suppressed the world, Liu trembled. That's the bell of no beginning. Through the still time and space, Liu saw the supreme treasure that suppressed the world and froze time and space. It was a huge bronze bell. The bell of no beginning hung high in the sky, majestic and vast. The huge bronze bell was covered in blood. There were even countless mottled sword marks on it. This bell erupted with endless divine might. It suppressed the entire world with its peerless ability and monstrous magic power. Over there is the human world. Liu's gaze pierced through time and space and saw the world on the other side of the gap between the two worlds. That was a world dyed in blood. Monstrous blood and the flames of war filled the sky. A fierce battle had broken out in the human world. Countless figures, immortal lights, and countless intertwining great Tao divine radiances. The entire world was covered in blood. However, everything was frozen. Not only was the human world frozen, but the other world that was faintly revealed behind the still time and space was also frozen, suppressing the heavens and imprisoning the world. It wasn't just the human world. All the worlds and planes were frozen. So, it's you guys working together? At this time, Liu also sensed the aura left behind by the bell of no beginning. There was no beginning. There was Yi Fan and Zhou. What made Liu even more shocked was that the strength of the three of them had already surpassed the immortal king realm and reached the level of a quasi-immortal emperor. And then, they all died. The three of them joined forces and sacrificed their own blood to cast the body securing technique, which froze the future of the entire world. Everything was frozen in place. Liu's heart turned cold. The future. It's actually so tragic. The three of them did their best to lock down the future, so that this world would no longer have a future. He placed the hope of changing everything in the past. After understanding all of this, Liu is even more puzzled. Could it be? After Heavenly Emperor Huang ruled the world for all eternity, this world would actually reach such a desperate situation? After putting in so much effort, why did the ruthless person who was in charge of sending the message say, "I'm the only one left"? What did the ruthless mean by this? Chapter 624. I'm the only one left. Vaguely, Liu suddenly heard an extremely sorrowful sigh. Liu hurriedly turned around and saw a white-clothed figure sitting by the riverside in the region that was emitting golden light. The figure had folded a paper boat and bit the tip of his finger to leave a sentence on the paper boat. Ruthless! Liu was shocked. His figure jumped up and rushed towards the location of the ruthless man. Pah! The sound of a soap bubble bursting rang out. Everything in front of him instantly shattered and disappeared without a trace. This is just an illusion. Standing by the river, Liu frowned, as if he was thinking about something. A moment later, Liu let out another long sigh. Actually, ruthless, you're not here anymore, right? Since he wanted to fix the future, then, the ruthless person who existed in the future could only disappear. Otherwise, the future that had been fixed would be broken, and all the hard work he had put in would be meaningless. Without beginning, the three of them joined hands to fix the future, and the release of the paper boat by the ruthless happened at the same time. Ruthless, in fact, also passed away at the moment when the future was fixed. Liu frowned again. To pay such a huge price, the message that was sent to the past must be very important. I'm the only one left. What does this mean? According to the original development of this world, when Heavenly Emperor Huang was fighting the Darkness Origin, no beginning, ruthless, and Yi Fan had all traced back to time and rushed over from the future. In other words, at that time, the future had already thawed. The future had changed? Where was the key to all this change? Liu suddenly thought of the peerless divine ability that Heavenly Emperor Huang had created when he became an immortal emperor in the future. He transformed into an ancient being. Could it be? What Ruthless said about, "I'm the only one left," was referring to the cultivation technique created by Heavenly Emperor Huang. Without a clue, Liu couldn't figure it out either. No matter what, I have to increase my strength as soon as possible. Only with enough strength can one stand on their own. Liu nodded slightly as he turned to look in the direction where time had stopped. In this world, the Immortal King realm is the limit. Only by breaking through the limits and breaking the shackles can one have the possibility of becoming an immortal emperor. All of you have broken through your limits. With a dash, Liu once again returned to the still world. This time, Liu released his spirit and focused all his attention on the Bell of No Beginning. On the Bell of No Beginning, all the power of Emperor Wushi, Yi Fan, and Zhou Yi were condensed. Even if all of this power was used to suppress heaven and earth, freezing time and space, Liu didn't need this power. He only needed to use it as a reference, wanting to see how they broke through their limits and became a quasi-immortal emperor. No beginning and no end? There's a beginning and an end? The first thing he sensed was Emperor Wushi's power. Liu himself had started off with the Infinite Sutra, so he naturally had a deep understanding of this power. Heaven and earth originate from the beginning, and all things return to nothing. This was the initial theory of the No Beginning Sutra. But now, Emperor Wushi's strength has surpassed that level. Nothing is there, and the beginning is the end. So that's how it is. Liu already understood the concept behind Emperor Wushi's breakthrough. This train of thought is somewhat similar to my path of tracing the void and transforming into the primal chaos. From the idea of no beginning, Liu had also gained something. What about the others? Liu's soul turned to the other two forces. A wave of power was fierce and tyrannical, as if it was splitting the heavens and the earth. Such a fierce power. Is this Yi Fan? As soon as Liu's soul came into contact with this power, He felt as if the universe had exploded. In the void of primal chaos, an infinitely small point suddenly exploded, and then the heavens and the earth were split open, and the universe was born. This power is very much in line with Yi Fan's personality. With the concept of the Big Bang giving birth to the world, it created a peerless power that was as fierce as the Big Bang. The Big Bang was an extremely violent power. Only someone like Yi Fan, who only believed in this life and believed that he was invincible in this world, would take this path. This kind of concept of the Big Bang is also a concept of order and matter being born from chaos. It is also somewhat useful to me. However, if he wanted to transform himself into the Big Bang of the universe, he would explode into nothingness if he wasn't careful. Liu didn't have the determination to walk this path. This brat, what kind of path did he take? With regards to this that he had created, Liu was also a little curious about his path. It's actually such a path. This guy, is he really planning to be the Holy Emperor of Xinyuan? Seeing the path of the Book of Changes, Liu was a little shocked. The path of the Book of Changes was also the path of order. However, this kind of holy Tao order, imperial Tao order, and enlightening all living beings were not what Liu wanted. This kind of ancestor who doesn't wake up early without benefits, actually taught a holy emperor? Wasn't educating all living beings the same as saving all living beings? I can't walk this path. Of course, Liu is not trying to copy the three people's path of breakthrough. There was no way to copy this kind of thing. It could only be used as a reference through their ideas. Wait. Liu's expression suddenly changed. I was the one who nurtured it. He still had the Book of the Highest Heavens system on him. Even if the host died, the system would still exist. But where's the system? Yes, Liu did not sense the existence of the Book of the Highest Heavens. Even if time and space were imprisoned, even if the host was already dead. However, the system was eternal and indestructible. Unless Liu took it back himself, it would not disappear. System, connect to the Book of the Highest Heavens. Unable to find the existence of the Book of the Highest Heavens, Liu hurriedly opened the system connection and searched for the Book of the Highest Heavens. Connection successful. The system instantly connected to the Book of the Highest Heavens and displayed the situation around the Book of the Highest Heavens. In the picture, Yi Fan, Li Xiaoman, Peng Bo, and the others were sitting in a hall of the Ji family, drinking and chatting. What's going on? Liu was dumbstruck. Wasn't the future human world in a mess? How could they still be in the mood to drink? Moreover, that world had already stopped. They were all dead, so why were they still here? Could it be, looking up at the still world, Liu took a deep breath, could it be that all of this? Was it all an illusion? An illusion that can even confuse me? Reaching out to press the heaven splitter sword at his waist, Liu's expression became extremely serious. If it really was an illusion, then the person who set up this illusion must have a cultivation level that far surpassed Liu's. This was extremely dangerous. Chapter 6:25. Strange. Liu was on high alert, but he didn't sense any danger. This place isn't a trap set up by someone? After looking around, Liu didn't find anything out of the ordinary. This is a reflection of space-time, not an illusion. After calming down, Liu also understood that everything in front of him was not an illusion, but it was also not a scene that existed in reality. This is a reflection of the river of space-time. This was a reflection of the future at the end of time. It wasn't that Liu had entered the future after passing through the hole. This was just a reflection of the future on the river of time. This should be the work of Vicious. The message she left behind isn't just that sentence. This scene is also a message. Liu understood the truth. This was only a reflection, so it naturally couldn't reflect the heavenly book of the highest heavens. This was one of the countless futures, and also the most tragic and terrifying one. This future could happen, but it also could not happen. Since I'm here, this future definitely won't happen. Changing the past would naturally change the future. The current ancient chaos era was the key to changing everything. Celestial Emperor Huang, you must grow as quickly as possible. As for me, Liu clenched his fists. As for me, I must ascend to the immortal Emperor realm. Liu turned to look at the frozen world, nodded, and turned to leave. Following the river through the cave, Liu returned to the small island in the North Sea. Ancestral Master, you're back. Seeing Liu emerge, Ba Xia hurriedly came forward. Ba Xia, let's go back. Ba Xia transformed into his true form and carried Liu away. Soon, they returned to the depths of the great wilderness. Xiao Hao and Celestial Emperor Huang have already left for the North Sea. Through the system, Liu discovered that Xiao Hao and Little Rock were riding on the backs of Qiongqi and the sky-devouring sparrow. The Kuanpeng's nest is a good place to train them. In order for them to grow as quickly as possible, the Wall of Gods and Devils must also be brought over. The Wall of Gods and Devils was a secret treasure refined by a few immortal kings in order to deal with the calamity of darkness in the immortal ancient era. Countless god and devil arenas were set up inside. Once they entered the arena, they could fight with all kinds of true spirit beasts and ancient immortals and devils. Although the level of power was limited to the same realm, the creatures in the Divine Colosseum were all existences that had broken through the limits. Bring this thing over and let Xiao Hao add it to the training field. Then we can train them properly. Liu made up his mind. He took out a talisman and handed it to Ba Xia. Ba Xia, go to the forbidden black forest of the great wilderness and use this talisman to retrieve the wall of demons and gods. The real wall of gods and devils was in the black forest of the forbidden land of the great wilderness. There was an incomplete replica in the Fire Nation's ancestral ground, the Vermilion Bird Temple. Naturally, Liu didn't want that replica. Yes, Ba Xia took the command talisman and used earth movement to travel towards the black forest of the great wilderness. The command talisman I gave you contains a resource bank. With this command talisman, with Ba Xia's current realm, it wouldn't be difficult for him to retrieve the wall of demons and gods. Naturally, it won't be a problem for him to handle this matter. Now that the matter of the wall of demons and gods was settled, Liu calmed down and began to comprehend the gains he had gained from his trip to the North Sea. Breaking through to the immortal king realm is equivalent to breaking through the shackles of the heavens and earth, exceeding the limits of the heavens and earth. This is similar to the method of stepping on the heavens. Breaking through the shackles of the heavens and earth, stepping on the heavens and exterminating the Tao, and standing above the heavens and earth. Liu had already done this kind of thing many times, although the power level of those worlds was lower than this world. However, experience was always the same. Without beginning, Yi Fan and Zhou Yi, they all broke through to this realm in the endless future. Each of them had their own path. Each of them had their own ideals. It can be used as a reference, but can't be copied. Liu's path had long been clear. The experiences of those three people could all be incorporated into the great Tao of the origin of matter and the origin of order, as a part of the origin of matter and order. My origin of matter and order is too great, encompassing everything in the world. Therefore, my path will definitely be much more difficult than theirs. But once I break through, my strength will far surpass theirs. With a wave of his hand, the rune laws of the primordial true world appeared in his hand. Countless runes spiraled and danced in the air, like a river of stars flowing in the sky. The path of no beginning, the path of Yi Fan, the path of Zhou Yi. In the end, they're all the path of matter and order. Putting his hands together, the runes that filled the sky of the true primordial record were instantly annihilated, and the black and yellow qi and the yin and yang qi lingered out. Previously, I used the true primordial record to analyze the runes. Although it gave me a new understanding of the laws of heaven and earth, I have actually already embarked on the wrong path. The black and yellow qi and the yin and yang qi intertwined. Matter and order intertwined. All things in the world, all matter and order were contained within. This is my path. If I want to analyze the laws of heaven and earth, Why would I need to use the true primordial record? I am the order, I am the rules. With a single thought, his mind became clear. In the blink of an eye, all the cultivation techniques and laws that Liu had deduced before appeared one by one in the intersection of the black and yellow qi and the yin and yang qi. What are runes? What is a treasure technique? All rune treasure techniques are the manifestation of the laws of heaven and earth. The laws are in my hands. With a flick of his finger, a speck of spiritual light shot out. A true dragon was born from the radiance. Its scales and claws flew in the air, looking very lifelike. 9 sons of the dragon, come out. With a point of his hand, the true dragon's form exploded, turning into 9 different shaped beasts. Basha, Swani, Yazi, Tautai. The 9 sons of the dragon appeared one by one. Phoenix! With a flick of his sleeve, the 9 sons of the dragon disappeared. As the spiritual light swirled, a colorful phoenix spread its wings and soared. 9 leaf sword grass. The phoenix's figure once again turned into a ray of spiritual light, and then it turned into a silver-white 9-leaf sword grass that burst out with endless sharp sword energy. God's striking stone. The 9-leaf sword grass dissipated, and a hard stone appeared. It was the most solid thing in heaven and earth, eternally indestructible and immovable like a mountain. His hands kept waving, forming hand seals one after another. So far, Liu had collected countless divine abilities, treasured techniques, heavenly arts, and secret techniques. One by one, he used the origin of matter and order to recreate them. Strange phenomena appeared on the stage. If an outsider was present and saw this scene, they might be able to comprehend countless divine abilities and treasured techniques. Unfortunately, no one was able to see such a peerless opportunity. This is my Tao. With a wave of his hand, the strange phenomena in the sky dissipated. Only a ray of yellow and black qi and a ray of yin and yang qi lingered on Liu's fingertips. Even the heavenly arts and secret techniques of the Dark Immortal Kings and Dark Immortal Generals in the Void God realm were recreated by Liu's black and yellow qi and yin and yang qi. At this point, Liu had integrated everything he had gained since coming to this world into his own Tao. Unfortunately, the accumulation is still not enough for me to break through to the Immortal King realm. Liu turned his head to look in the direction of the forbidden black forest of the Great Desolation and smiled. The wall of gods and demons is also something refined by several immortal kings. The laws it contains are also a kind of accumulation for me. P.S. I recommend my friend's book, The Returned Grandmaster. Chapter 626. That shackled future made Liu feel a sense of crisis. Even if it was just a reflection at the end of time, it was only one of the countless futures. However, no one could guarantee that this would not happen in the future. To change all of this, I need unparalleled power. Not only must I become an immortal emperor, but Huang, Xiaohao, and even Willow Deity must become immortal emperors as well. That's the only way we can overturn history and reverse fate. Liu took a deep breath and turned to look at the Dark Immortal Kings and dozens of Dark Immortal Generals in the resource vault. His eyes were filled with determination. I'd planned to let you grow slowly, but it seems like time waits for no one. So, young man, don't blame me for being too hasty. With a wave of his hand, the 2 Dark Immortal Generals in the storehouse disintegrated. Their true immortal power was refined into pure immortal power. I'll seal this power in your bodies. Refine it with all your might. Through the continuous bloody battles, in the midst of the intense battles, I was able to continuously refine this power. There is only pure immortal power, but no immortal realm enlightenment or laws of the immortal realm. This was to prevent the immortal general's Tao from interfering with Xiaohao and Huang's own. In this way, even if they were to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm, the risk would be minimized. It was equivalent to having an enormous amount of pure immortal power in their bodies for them to digest and absorb, speeding up the accumulation of vital energy. Heaven Sealing Tao Seal. With the Heaven Sealing art, he sealed the two immortal powers and turned them into two dazzling golden pills. If I swallow a Jin Dan, my life will be in my hands, not the heavens. Young man, begin your heaven-defying path. With a wave of his hand, the two Jin Dan connected through the system and entered Xiaohao's sovereign palace. Xiaohao, who was flying all the way to the North Sea, suddenly felt the sovereign palace in his mind shake violently and burst in a brilliant light. Another decree from the ancestral master? Xiaohao hurriedly sank his mind into his sea of consciousness and entered the supreme palace. Brilliant golden light shone, filling his eyes with boundless radiance. Two dazzling golden pills floated in the supreme hall like two suns hanging high in the sky. Grand Jin Dan, the supreme immortal pill bestowed by the patriarch? A message entered his mind. Xiaohao looked at the two Jin Dan and was dumbfounded. If I swallow a Jin Dan, my life will be in my own hands. After refining this Jin Dan, it would not be difficult to become an immortal. Isn't this too terrifying? The ancestral master's divine ability was indeed admirable. Xiaohao, what's wrong? Seeing Xiaohao's face full of shock, little Shirtu hurriedly came over and asked. Phew! Xiaohao let out a long sigh and turned his head to look at little Shirtu. The ancestral master has bestowed us with a peerless treasure. This item is too heaven-defying. As he spoke, Xiaohao took out two Jindan pills. Dazzling golden light soared into the sky, illuminating the heavens and earth. It was as if two brilliant suns had risen between heaven and earth. The celestial music was vast and mighty, and the auspicious clouds lingered. As soon as the two immortal pills were taken out, they displayed an earth-shattering scene. This is Qiangqi, and the sky-swallowing sparrow stared blankly and screamed in shock. This is an immortal pill. The small bone pagoda, hidden in little Shidu's hair, let out a cry of surprise. Oh my God! He even took out an immortal pill? Your ancestral master is so ruthless? Isn't he afraid that you will die from overeating? It's actually an immortal pill. The sky-swallowing sparrow and Qiangqi were also stunned. The ancestral master actually bestowed an immortal pill. It seems that the ancestral master values the two young masters greatly. If we follow the two young masters, we will have a chance to obtain an immortal pill in the future. The two divine beasts' hearts were burning with passion, and they were full of longing for the future. Squeak, squeak. The golden-haired monkey squatting on little Shida's shoulder seemed to be confused about the situation. It bared its teeth and screamed strangely, not knowing what was going on. This guy is also very close to the young masters, and the Azure Sky Rock family is also close. In addition, there are a few divine bird eggs in the village that have not hatched, and there's also a dragon egg in the lake. We can't let them get ahead of us. The two ferocious birds and ferocious beasts secretly made up their minds to perform well. Is this really an immortal pill? Hearing the small pagoda's cry of surprise, little Shirtu was also shocked. At this moment, little Shirtu was no longer a cultivation rookie, so he naturally knew what an immortal pill was. The ancestral master just bestowed it. This is the supreme Jin Dan, and it is indeed an immortal pill. Xiaohao handed a Jin Dan to little Shirtu. Quickly swallow it. Once I swallow a Jin Dan, my life will be in my own hands and not in the hands of the heavens. With this Jin Dan, it will not be a problem for us to become immortals. That's great. Little Shirtu reached out and took the Jin Dan, then swallowed it in one gulp. It was as if a scorching sun had appeared in his stomach, and the mighty divine light illuminated his entire body, as if he had turned into a piece of colored glass. After a moment, the light dissipated, and the strange phenomena in the sky disappeared. It doesn't seem to have much effect. Little Shirtu blinked and looked at Xiaohao in confusion. Isn't it an immortal pill? Why can't I see any changes after eating it? I haven't become an immortal? Pfft. You think you could become an immortal after eating it? This immortal pill has been sealed and can only be slowly digested. Otherwise, just a sliver of immortal power will cause you to explode. Small Pagoda cried out in jealousy and then sighed deeply. It's really a waste for you to eat such a peerless divine item. If you give it to me, I can immediately recover my full strength. Although Small Pagoda was very covetous of these two Jin Dan, it did not dare to fight for them. It did not even dare to think of fighting for them. With Small Pagoda's knowledge, it naturally knew what kind of existence a celestial king was. If it dared to fight for them, it would definitely die without leaving even a trace. Brat, I now believe that your ancestral master is definitely a celestial king. Who else could do such a thing if not a celestial king? Small Pagoda sighed with emotion and also felt somewhat fortunate. Since these two little fellows had such a great background, as long as they worked hard in the future, they would have a chance to obtain immortal pills. Ancestral Master gave us the Jin Dan so that we can continuously absorb the power of the Jin Dan during our training and thus speed up our growth. On the other side, Xiao Hao also ate the Jin Dan. He turned a little sure too and said, "This time, in the North Sea Kuan Peng's nest, besides the Kuan Peng treasure technique, our main goal is to train ourselves." Good. This time, we can go all out in the Kuan Peng's nest again. Little Shita's eyes lit up, and he clenched his fists tightly. The sky-swallowing sparrow and Cheongqi flew all the way to the North Sea. The two youths who had never left the great wilderness were also very curious about the North Sea. Countless prodigies have gathered in the Kuan Peng's nest, and all kinds of forces have come out. This time, we must have a good experience. Invincible. Sweep the world. Xiao Hao and little Shirtu looked at each other and laughed, their lofty aspirations soaring to the sky. Boom! In the distance, raging tides surged, and huge waves rose to the sky. The vast and boundless North Sea had already appeared in front of them. North Sea, I'm coming. Little Shirtu raised his fist and roared to the sky. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.